listen to metal?
I haven't listened to as much metal recently. I've been getting a lot into really bad Australian hip hop.
Oh, interesting. Like new stuff.
Yeah, a lot of internet stuff that comes out.
Okay. My musical taste is stuck in my parents' generation.
Hmm.
So it's like 70s, 80s stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's
And
fair.
I don't know if I listen to anything from this century, which is getting longer and longer in the past, the turn of the century.
To be fair, there's a lot of good music that came out in like the 70s and 80s, so that's sort of
Yeah.
stuff that I grew up listening to as well because my parents.
Yeah. And we've forgotten a lot of the bad stuff that came out at the same
Yeah, it's that's part of the good thing with listening to the classics because you don't remember that there were things that were not classics.
time. Exactly.
And I started the recording, so
Okay, cool. Well, I've come prepared with my cup of tea.
awesome. And I was
It's
saying off camera that I have my. I think this is the teacup. Oh no, it's not the teacup from last week. I did take that one out. Um, it's just the one from yesterday. I'm very bad with dishes.
yeah, me too. I had I wrote a blog post about doing the dishes and
Mhm,
basically how objectively you should just do the dishes as soon as you can. It's the same amount of work to maintain a dish pile that's tiny
mhm.
as it is to maintain a dish pile that's huge,
Sure.
because by definition, if it's a stable pile of dishes, you're doing dishes at the same rate you're dirtying them.
Right.
So why not do it in the way that makes your kitchen look nice?
But what if you're trying
But
to preserve water?
ooh, if it's like a dishwasher and there's a fixed amount of water, then that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah. But for me, it's just I can't live by that. You know,
But a
if I
lot.
see that the dishes are small, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go watch TV.
Yeah, yeah, I know the feeling. Um,
Yeah.
I don't typically go and watch any TV, but I will find something that I either shouldn't be doing or something. Generally, right now at least, I have a lot of stuff that I need to get done because I'm in
Yeah.
my final semester of uni. I've got like 3 weeks left. Um,
Yeah. And you're doing honors,
I
right?
am doing honors, yeah. So I've got my honors paper to finish soon that I haven't started. It's due in 3 weeks.
Okay. I actually say to our students that honors is the hardest year we ask them to do.
Hmm.
Um, PhDs are easier than honors.
Okay.
Because you don't have, like, super hard deadlines, you
Ah,
get
yeah,
paid, you're working on, like, one thing,
yeah.
really, not, like, 10 different things at once. Yeah, honors is a big stress for everybody.
I think there's a better description of what you do on LBRYnomics. We'll go there. I've just got the. I was looking at your website just then, but I can't find
Yeah,
uh, a good list of your. What's the word I'm thinking of?
job description,
Yeah,
who am I?
yeah. Who you are? That
Bas
one.
The
Uh,
very short answer is that I'm a statistics academic
we'll read
in
what it
Auckland.
says on LBRYnomics for you.
Okay, oh, no.
Dr. Brendon J. Brewer studied physics and astrophysics at the University of Sydney in Australia, graduating with a first class honours degree in 2004 with a PhD in 2008. After a short time at UNSW, Brendon moved to the University of California, Santa Barbara for a postdoc in astrophysics. Already that sounds pretty impressive, but there's more to
Yeah,
it after that.
yeah, it's fun to say that you do astrophysics or that you did astrophysics. If someone asks, like, what your job is, that's the answer that I give if I wanna continue talking to the person. If I don't wanna continue talking to the person, I say I'm a statistician.
Yeah, then we get to
Um,
the next part where it says Brendan now specializes in statistics, most notably in Bayesian inference, which he teaches it as a senior lecturer at the University of Auckland. He has also made presentations at major organizations such as the European Space Agency. Oh, I guess that part will keep people interested, and
yeah.
Stanford University. But yeah, if you just say Bayesian inference, they'll probably go away.
Yeah, even though it's one of my favorite, topics. I've branched out a bit recently, but it's good fun. I don't think we'll get into it much today, but it's basically probabilities used right, I think,
Hmm.
and, there's a lot of computational stuff in there, like algorithms you can design using, like, random numbers and stuff, and I spend a lot of my time doing that.
Yeah, I've had two courses now where we've done the like basics of Bayesian inference. I had a artificial intelligence course, and that was I think the last 5 weeks of it.
Yeah.
Um, you need 5 weeks to go over the basics of it, and I had another course where we sort of briefly touched on it as part of our big data course.
Yeah, that would be the whole data science thing
Mm-hmm.
coming into your university, and we've started doing it too now, where the statistics department and the computer science department are sort of teamed up
Yeah.
to teach half of a new graduate program.
Yeah.
That's like all sexy, but statisticians like to claim that a lot or most of machine learning is like, oh, it's just some statistical thing that
Mm-hmm.
we've been doing for 100 years, and that's often true. But sometimes the big Silicon Valley people or whatever are doing it on a scale that we wouldn't dare touch.
Yeah.
So, for example, I could say, oh, these convolutional neural networks that can tell what's a dog and what's a cat from a photo and all that stuff. I'm like, oh, that's just regression. That's just semi-parametric regression, and it is. But don't ask me to write a program that works with videos or images. And
Mm-hmm.
I like to work with small data where it runs on my laptop.
Yeah.
And I would like to say finishes the analysis in a few seconds, but I often things take longer than that. It just it depends.
Anything more than like 1 million records and just let someone else do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, below 1 million. I think most of my data sets that I've actually analyzed and then eventually published are easily below 1 million
Mm-hmm.
values. Yeah.
So,
And
sorry, I was going to say your university's doing the same thing that we're doing then, where a lot of like I've got a big data basics class I'm doing right now because in my honors degree, I have my honors year, I guess I have to pick 3 master's courses to do, and one of them I
okay.
picked was big data, and
Yeah.
half the class is programmers, half the class
Yep.
is people from the maths background.
Yeah. And that's kind of an awkward class to teach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing that you get some people who are like, what's a database?
Oh, we can get into that. I had someone who asked. This person has been asking these questions the entire degree, or the entire class. I think my favorite one was, "What is AI? Like, what does AI stand for?"
Oh, what does it stand for?
Yeah.
What does it stand for? Well, that's funny, but none of this stuff is artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
It's algorithms that predict that the future is approximately like the past.
Mm-hmm.
And that if you give it an input that's very close to an input it's seen before, then the output should be very close to the output that it gave
Yes.
on the old. And somehow that's, when you get to marketing, it's like this silver-looking face with.
Well, you can't market as it's going to predict what you already know. That's not going to make anyone buy
it. That's true. Yeah, I'm not a very good marketer by nature. I tend to think, I don't sell myself. So that paragraph on LBRYnomics was obviously written by Steve/Electron/Mark, and not me. I would have been too shy to write half of that.
Yeah, I've kind of been forced to learn how to market myself. I'm still pretty bad at it, but basically what I do, like I've got the advantage where I've got this entire array of people who know what they're doing, and I can take what they're doing, sort of modify it. I've got a video that I'm coming up with. I think I'm going to record it just after we do this, actually. And I'm going to title it. So the website called Flatkill, which is about Flatpaks, and I'm going to title the video "Confronting Flatkill: The Case Against Flatpaks," which is way better than I could ever think of. But it's also copying a title called, I think it was "Confronting XQC," which is copying another title, which is copying another title. Basically, just let the people who know what they're doing just do that. Find what works well from them, and then go from there.
And then combine it with what you're good at.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a really good approach. Speaking of what's a database, that was one of the things I wanted.
What's batch processing?
What is batch processing?
What is batch processing? That was another question we got.
I don't know that. I don't know the answer.
You don't know the answer?
I did first year computer science. And in my undergrad, I did a lot of physics. And so I learned programming kind of through the, like, how am I going to solve differential equations in MacLeod? And I knew C++ because I learned it in high school.
Yeah.
So I went to selective high school and my friends and I were into coding.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what batch processing is. That's
basically doing a bunch of processing at once. So instead of say you have like 10 things you want to process at once. Instead of doing 10 individual jobs, you would do them all in one big job.
Oh, I see. So is it related to parallelism or the same thing?
Yeah, parallelism would basically speed that up, but it doesn't have to be parallel. You could do the batch in a sequential method if you wanted to.
Okay.
But it basically existed during a time where computing resources were very expensive, so you would allocate, here are the hours you could use this computing resource. So
I see. Yeah.
instead of doing these individual things that could take maybe an hour each, you would do them all at once in a 6-hour block, for example.
Okay. So that sounds kind of similar to some stuff I've had to do for LBRYnomics where, I can't ask their API for the number of followers for every channel because there's like 500,000 now, most of which are empty. So empty channels don't count. That brings it down to like 120,000. But I can't say, hello, give me 120,000 numbers in this one HTTP request. So I chop it up into 1,000 each and do a loop. But I had a lot of gaps in my computing knowledge, even though I was, I've been using Linux since 2005 because of the physicists. They use it a lot. Just got used to it. I went a bit ideological. I remember, I used to spend all day listening to Richard Stallman lectures. And then I was like, oh, there's these people who are against Richard Stallman. I'll go listen to them. And now I'm more pragmatic, but I like the more open source end generally speaking. But it's not an all or nothing thing for me. And I don't run the the things where they take out the proprietary parts of the kernel, for example.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who they are very much on the all or nothing camp with open source. Like it doesn't matter what your use case is, it must be open source, but that's not exactly how the real world functions.
Yeah, I'm happy to compromise. Maybe I would make my decision of where to draw a line at a different point than other people. But if someone wants to argue against anything that I'm using, like the fact that I use Zoom because all my students use Zoom, then we all use Zoom. I'm not going to use Jitsi for my class because they wouldn't know how to install it.
Yeah, that's fair. I only use Discord for these because it's convenient. Basically, everyone I've brought everybody. Jesus Christ, it's too early in the morning. Basically, everyone I brought onto the podcast already has a Discord account, so it just makes sense.
Yeah, and like Skype, I feel like no one's used Skype for 10 years.
I logged into my Skype account the other day and I forgot what my email... I had to go remember what my email account for that was. Because I think I made the account like 15 years ago or something. So it was one of those ones where you're first getting onto the internet and you give yourself some really weird email. Like, oh god, what is 7-year-old me thinking right now?
Yeah, I have some awkward stuff actually from a long time ago. And I now have professional things listed there. So my GitHub username is eggplantbren. And I got it from like there was this really old web comic from about 20 years ago or 15 years ago now. It was called Spamusement. And it was based on the idea of taking spam email subject lines that this person received and then just drawing a cartoon to represent whatever the random gibberish was in the headline.
Can we find it? Yes, I can. Thank you, Internet.
Yeah, and there was one that just said the spam subject line was, "You are so good to me, eggplant Mike." And so it was just a cartoon of an eggplant giving someone a massage. And I thought that was super hilarious. So I called myself on a forum that I used to be on. I called myself Eggplant Mike. And then I was like, well, Mike's not my name, and so I'm going to be Eggplant Bren. And now my GitHub is that. So, I have published papers in journals where I have Eggplant Bren as my username, where I'm linking to the source code.
I don't remember what my GitHub name actually is, because I just have my actual name on there. I don't know if my username's different. I think it's just Brodie Robertson. I made it when I joined uni, so...
That's a smart move to just use your name.
The only thing that's not really my name is because there's someone on Twitter that has Brodie Robertson and doesn't use the account. Oh,
that's annoying.
Yeah, I need to I'm not big enough to go bother Twitter about it. Maybe one day I can bother Twitter about it, or I can try to contact the person, but they might try to basically charge me out of the ass for it.
Yeah, and that's why you need LBRY.
Mm.
You know, people say, you know, all the bad things that could happen with LBRY's naming system, and it's true, but then every alternative to it also has problems.
Well, I do like that a lot of websites have sort of gone down the route of doing a unique ID rather than having a specific username. So, like
Yeah.
Discord, for example, you can
Yeah.
have 1,000 people with the exact same name.
Yeah, and then they'll just have some gibberish after so that you can tell
Mhm.
them apart. Yeah, I think that's a good move too.
Yeah, obviously it's difficult to retroactively change a website into that. At least I
Yeah,
imagine so, unless you've got. Or I guess it's not as hard if you've already assigned. Okay, if your database is set up in a sensible way, you probably have a user ID assigned to that person anyway. So it
yeah,
probably isn't that difficult, I would say. But
yeah.
I haven't worked on a system as large as Twitter.
Me either. No, most of all my database stuff, which none of which existed before a couple of years ago, which I want to get back to.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my times I use databases, it's SQLite, and they
Yeah.
go up to like 1 MB,
Mm-hmm.
and that's about the size that I usually deal with. And they have row IDs, so they're just
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah.
which is that's a convention that I like. But a couple of years ago, I had no idea what a database was, and I was assigned to teach this course called Stats 220 Data Technologies,
Uh-huh.
and it was by probably one of the most computer sciencey people in my department, Paul Murrell. And by the way, my department is famous because it's the place where R came from.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah. So R stands for Rossi Harker, who retired recently, and Robert Gentleman. And I know that I think Brian that you had on recently has some videos about R.
Yes, he did a video on Travesty Media about it. He did like a hour and a half course on it.
Nice.
My phone? Is
Well,
that your
yeah,
phone?
that's my phone.
Okay.
I I was assigned to teach this course where it was data technologies, and it was sort of like introduction to data science or like computing for statisticians who
Mm-hmm.
don't know anything about computing. So it has some really basic stuff in it, like what is code? What does the word syntax mean? Um, and it's really remedial, but it's actually quite useful
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of the kids have no idea, and
Yeah.
I do feel like they're kids now. A couple of years ago, I felt like, oh, you know, I'm the peer of these students. You know, they
Mm-hmm.
look like me, and now I'm like, no, they look like babies, and I'm getting old. But um, it also had an introduction to databases and a little bit of SQL in it,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of I was very impressed because before that, I had only ever, you know, if I'd had to save data, I would either make up my own binary format and just dump everything in it into a kind of random order,
Mm-hmm.
or I would use a plain text format with just numbers with spaces,
Yep.
and then I would just put a comment in the source code saying the first number is this, and the second number is that, and the third number is this.
Don't even bother doing like CSV or anything. Just make up your own thing.
Exactly. Yeah, I didn't even know what CSV was. I was just using .txt. And well, nowadays I would use SQLite,
Mm-hmm.
or if I wanted plain text, I'd use YAML. I
Yeah,
think
that's fair.
YAML's cool. But so I had to learn, like, you know, 2 weeks of baby databases and baby select. So it was like select this and that from something, where something else, maybe inner join,
Mm-hmm.
group by, and that was it.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I wonder if I'll ever need that. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what? I bet like every company ever has stuff like that on their back end, because you know, a little shop, they're going to have some customers, and they're going to have some products that they
Mm-hmm.
have in stock, and they're going to have some other contacts and things. And those are, you know, naturally other separate tables that you're going to have, and blah, blah, blah. And as soon as I realized that, I was like, oh, maybe I should learn a bit more. But I never found the motivation until I was doing this library trending business,
Mm-hmm.
and and some of the early stuff before the LBRYnomics came along. So I learned that chain query was a thing. So chain query it's basically a thing where they take the library blockchain, which just keeps on growing and growing and growing, and they chuck it into a MySQL server that you can send queries to. And I was like, oh, wow, a use for this select and stuff that I knew. And I started using it to get things like how many publications were there today, or how many times has a particular channel been supported and when did that happen. And so that got me actually using some of the stuff I was teaching, which was good because then I could overtake the students in my level of understanding.
That's always a good spot to be in.
Yeah, exactly. Like the first time I taught it, my level of knowledge was about as good as a student who studied that particular course really well, but knew nothing beyond it. And I felt like a bit of a fraud standing up and teaching it, especially because sometimes there's computer science students would take that class for an easy A. And because they'd be like, oh, select, I know how to do that. I know how to program already. I'm just learning the R syntax instead of having to learn what a for loop is for the first time. But once I started doing some of the library stuff, I felt like I actually knew some things beyond the course. And now I feel like I know way more beyond the course because I had to, when I first made up an alternative trending algorithm compared to what they had previously, I was doing it by running a wallet server, and a wallet server is something a bit different from chain query, but you can think of it as sort of...
Before we go too far on that, just in case you don't know what a wallet server is, because that is a bit of a term most people probably haven't heard of.
Yeah, so the library blockchain is there, and it just keeps growing. But if you look at the files and stuff that's in there, it's all very optimized, and it's one way to think about it, I guess, is that it's very low level. Like the way the data is represented is very low level. Stuff is like smushed into like strings of bytes, and to try and save space and all of that. And it's not very easy to use if you wanted to, see what was going on the blockchain. But a wallet server is a thing where, so you would run it typically on the same computer as where you were saving the blockchain. And it reads all those little, very sort of low level files from the blockchain program, which is called LBRYcard, LBRYcrd. I always thought it was library cred, like for credits. But when I met Tom in the, so this is Jiggy Tom. I'm gathering, I guess most people are going to be listening to this on LBRY or Odyssey, so they might know Jiggy Tom.
I think it's about the same between YouTube and LBRY right now, actually.
Okay, well, anyway, there's a guy, Jiggy Tom. He's probably the most busy LBRY employee on the Discord, at least, and he told me that they call it LBRYcard. But anyway, the wallet server reads the low level stuff and chucks it into something that's high level, and then makes an API server out of it. So when you're on odyssey.com watching a video, when you click on a video, it is sending a request to a wallet server that says, hey, I know how to respond to that sort of request, and it's kind of high level and easy to understand, relatively speaking. And then it returns a result such as, the description of the video. But those wallet servers, they have an SQLite database on them with all the information from the LBRY blockchain that's relevant to apps. And they do it in a way that's sort of a bit nicer than the full chain query, because the chain query is like, it has all this really low level stuff in it, like TXOs and all that. I don't know what TXOs are. Cool.
I'm going to transaction something.
It's transaction outputs, but goodness knows what it means. It's because Bitcoin is weird. It's like when you and LBRY is similar to Bitcoin. So when you send, 1 unit from here to there, it doesn't just deduct 1 from here and add 1 to there. It like has this weird change, and like it's complicated, and I don't get it. But anyway, I was able to run one of these and have an SQLite database and run heaps of queries on it, and that's what eventually became became LBRYnomics.
Mhm.
But also when I came up with an alternative trending algorithm for them,
Yes.
I was querying my wallet server's SQLite database and then just using it to populate an HTML document with a list. And I just put that somewhere on the web so people could look at it.
Mhm.
And I said, maybe I could put this in the library code. And they said, yeah, that would be cool. And I was hoping someone else would just do it, like someone who knew what they were doing. Because at that point, I was pretty happy with my select and all that business. But I wasn't happy with the rest of SQL. I didn't know how to do insert or update or create table, or I didn't know what an index was.
Mhm.
And I had to learn all of that. And so as a result of this sort of obsession with library that I've had for a couple of years, I've actually upskilled myself in ways that are relevant to my day job.
Mhm.
So I'm now using, turns out that some of what I was doing with plain text files using years ago actually can get sped up by having a database and putting an index on some of the columns.
Who would have thought?
Exactly. Yeah. So it felt good to be able to say that I wasn't wasting my time
Mhm.
writing trending algorithms, you know.
It's funny hearing you say that about having to learn how to create tables, insert tables, update, and create
Mhm.
indexes. Because if you do like a introductory programming focused SQL course, that is what you, or database course, that is all the stuff you will get from just the basic course.
Exactly, but I never did that.
Mm-hmm.
I was never a computer science student. I
Yeah,
was one of these physicists who,
had to learn
realized
it
that there
basically.
aren't any jobs in physics, so you switch to an adjacent field, and
Mm-hmm.
if you're pretty good with computers, it's going to involve computers.
Well, no matter what you're
And
doing in science now, anyway, you need to have some level of programming knowledge. Like
that's true.
whether
Yeah.
that be in R, Python, depending on what field you're doing, you need some sort of background in programming.
That's definitely true. I think um, everyone in astronomy knows Python now,
Mm-hmm.
basically. But I find it frustrating. I think Python is good, especially the whole batteries included thing. Like, I can use HTTP in Python.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way I would bother doing that in C++, although I did find a library that looked pretty good for doing that. Um, but Python is slow.
Yeah, that is slow.
I think I think there's a Luke Smith video about Python should feel bad for being slow or
I
something.
don't remember. There might be. I'm not sure. I haven't seen every single video he's done, but
Yeah,
it is a slow
I
language. I think a lot of people use it for things it's not intended for, and that's why it gets a really bad rap.
yeah. So all the things I grew up programming were things like giant for loops, double for loops,
Mm-hmm.
nested. You'd have a grid of numbers
Mm-hmm.
and you'd do a double loop and update all the numbers.
Yes.
That was all the stuff that I was doing in undergrad. And in C++, it's great,
Mm-hmm.
and in Python, it's horrible. And then if someone wanted to defend Python at this point, they'd say, "Oh yeah, but you should be using NumPy,
Mm-hmm.
which you should if you're doing that sort of thing in Python, or you should know how to use Cython,
Mm-hmm.
or you should know how to use Number, which is like a just-in-time compiler for Python
Mm-hmm.
that basically solves the problem of for loops." Um, but at that point, you've actually gone beyond Python and you're giving me all this extra crap to learn. I just wanted to, I just wanted to write a loop in my language and have it be fast.
I
I
do
don't really understand why they're slow.
I do get the benefit of some of these, like things like C Python. Like I get why people use it. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, but at some point, you've got to understand there are potentially better tools than using Python.
Yeah.
But
If
yes.
if I ever have a solid interaction with a student, like a research student or someone at, say, honors level or above, everyone in our department knows R.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell them that they should know R and at least one lower level thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's C or C++, C++ I'm most comfortable with, or even, and it's weird to call this low level, but it's pretty fast. Even Java. Um, or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of people, or a lot of the I guess it's going to change in a couple of years because they've restructured the degree, and I kind of don't like what they've done to it. But a lot of the existing PhD students and a lot of the existing faculty, they all know two languages. They know Python and they know Java, because up until now, those have been the two like main focus languages. But they're shifting Java a bit out of it for some reason. So now people are not touching Java until second year. So they're touching it when they start learning how to do like how to write like a linked list and how to write a binary tree, which I think is going to be a terrible combination. Like you don't want to be learning Java syntax and that at the same time.
Yeah. I remember doing linked list in first year. And I don't know how to write a binary tree.
You never know. Here's this. Okay, if there's any first years listening, you never need to write a binary tree. Literally never in your life.
Everything that you use that needs a binary tree, someone's already done it better than you ever will, right? Same with linked list.
If you just need a generic binary tree, every single language under the sun either has a binary tree built into it or has a binary tree library.
Yeah.
And the library will be quicker than anything you could possibly write.
And it will also take care of all the things, the little edge cases that you won't think of when you try to write your own. The C++ STL is like that. The advice for everyone who needs an array in C++ is that basically 99% of the time you just need a std vector. And if you think you might want something else, you're probably wrong. Just use a std vector. I have actually run into some things where I needed something else, but it was only at the point of optimization. Where I was actually doing a binary search on a sorted thing, and I ended up using a boost flat map, which was cool. And the boost project is cool too. It's basically like if you've got C++ and you've got your STL, the library with vector and all that stuff, then on top of that, if you need more stuff than that, which you usually do, then boost is kind of the next layer. But it's like super stable, written by geniuses as far as I can tell. You know, you read the documentation, you have no idea what's going on, which makes it hard. It's not import bacon, but or whatever it is from those Python jokes. But there's a lot of stuff that's there, and it tends to be very useful and fast.
Yep. Yeah. If we go back to Python for just a moment, what Python is really good at, I'm to obviously get into like the NumPy and the data sciencey stuff. What Python is good at is very simple scripting tasks. It is a scripting language. That's something people sort of don't think about too much. It's a scripting language, not a programming language per se. Like if you want to write like a file manager, do that in Go, do it in Rust, do it in C++, do it in anything else. Python isn't the language you should pick. There are file managers written in Python. I know Ranger people. Ranger is great. It would be better if it wasn't written in Python. Go look at LF. LF is much better. Anyway, but recently I did a very simple project. It was like 20 lines, and Python made it super easy to do. Basically, I was taking my Kdenlive project file, which is the video editor I use. And you know how on YouTube there's like, if you look at the timeline of a video, sometimes it'll have like little timestamps on it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, basically little, like notches down the bottom.
Yeah. Basically, if you add, I think it's the timestamp and then like a label after it, that'll actually add that as a thing in that line. So basically, I was taking my project file and extracting out the timestamps from my actual project, so I could just automate the process. But this file, it had two things that would have made it harder to do in most other languages. One, it was written in XML, so I would need an XML parsing library, and also the data I needed to get at was written in JSON, so I'd need a JSON parsing library. Python has both of these in the standard libraries.
Yeah, import JSON. And it's like,
I think the XML is like
dot load of a string or whatever, or a file handle or whatever it is, and then bam, magically it's a dictionary.
And XML, it's I think elementary or something like that, and you can just say get root and then for thing in root, and then it just cycles through all of the elements.
Yeah. So yeah, stuff like that. Imagine doing that in C++. Yeah.
There are ways to do it, but there's nothing in the standard libraries. That's why Python is good.
No.
It's just
Yeah.
have everything. Just
yeah. And I do use it for scripting as well. I never learned Bash or anything like that. If I look at Bash scripts, I'm like, what the heck's going on? But you know, I think the most complicated thing I know how to do in Bash is like arrow some output file, you know, and you can put the ampersand there if you want standard error as well, and that sort of thing. But I do write lots of little scripts, and they're really scripts in Python. And if people are following me on LBRY, that's about 1/4 of the channel is Python scripts to do something in LBRY. Some of which I think should go on the app. I think they'd be nice.
Yeah, there's things that the app needs some improvements on. That's for sure. That's a nice way to put it.
That's the thing. I've always believed in this project. It's the sort of the vision. I'd kind of give it 10 out of 10 for vision, and the implementation, it's more like 6 out of 10. Maybe it's getting to 7 now.
It definitely is getting better.
Yeah, but when I started paying attention in 2017, it was quite bad.
Was there a GUI interface for it at that point, or was there still the command line?
There was a GUI interface.
Okay.
And so you'd start it up, and it would have that green color. I don't know if it's the one that Electron, he likes to diss it by saying it's dentist green. But then there's also a gardening center. I forget which one it was. But some sort of not nice green color. And it would say, you know, downloading something, blah, 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 the blockchain. And I didn't know what was going on at that point. And it would say LBRY beta. And I remember I posted a few things, and it was a mystery to me whether I needed to leave my computer on. Because it's a peer-to-peer network, you know, can I turn my computer off now? Am I supposed to leave it on? I don't know. Because there was nothing there that was like about uploading it, and so that was mysterious. And also there were quite a lot of bugs and not very many features. So you'd get a homepage with a grid of videos, and each row was had some meaning. So it would be like you know, new from following. That's pretty similar to what's there now. Trending, something, and that sort of thing.
Trending was probably much worse back then, though.
Trending was based on views a long time ago. Yeah.
That would be interesting now, I guess, with all of the view bots that exist.
Exactly. So I actually have a confession to make that I think the people involved already know that I did this. But when Michael Hebo made his video Why I Left YouTube or Why I Quit YouTube, one of those, I thought it was cool. You know, I think it's too long, but it was cool. And he posted it, and I was like, I want to get this into trending. And this was a time when I think the view tips existed, and I think they might have been 100 LBC. There was no one on LBRY. There was like, when view counts first came out, that was probably 6 months after I started using it. There were a lot of zeros. And on my channel, the view counts were something like, you know, 20, 10, 5, 2, that sort of thing. But I could tell this because I once was testing out one of my silly parrot videos, and I managed to get myself into trending. I was like, there's no way that's trending. But that's before it would show you a view count, and I knew, you know, there's no way that was trending. But related items wasn't there. There was there was a search bar. There was trending, and there was community top bids, which was a section at the bottom where if you try to get the URL 1 ONE or 2 TWO and so on, if you're the winning bid for that URL, then your video would go down there.
I'm happy that stuff like that's gone now, because we'll get back to what you were saying in just a moment. But LBRY, if it wants to be a big platform, it needs to hide a lot of those crypto elements, and things like that really confuse people.
Yeah, I think they're awesome,
Yeah, they're
and
cool. Yeah.
I like that they're there, but there's no reason that needs to be on, Odyssey, for example,
Hmm.
which is why a lot of the complexity is taken off there.
Yeah. We'll get into
It's
Odyssey in
deliberate.
just a bit as well, because there's things I want to say about that.
Okay. Um, so yeah, that MH put up his video and I wanted to get it into trending, so I opened a private tab and clicked refresh a lot of times. I think this was actually a bit later when LBRY.TV was very, very new.
Hmm.
So you could go on that, and I think it was at a URL dev.library.tv.
Oh, wow.
And I just clicked refresh a lot of times on his video until it moved into trending. And then that's when all the flat earthers came, and Library was like so busy that it crashed for like a week, and then they all left. But he ended up with like 20,000 views with something like 100 LBC per registered view or something like that.
Jesus.
And that was from me clicking refresh on dev.library.tv. They're a lot more careful now with how they do those giveaways.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah.
no real point clicking refresh anymore.
I actually, I'll check. What is? I want to see what my current LBC tip rate is, because I think it's like 0.75 or something. It
That's
is.
a thing on Odyssey, right? That
Oh,
you
yeah,
can
you
see
can see it
that.
on the app as well now, which is good.
Oh, can you? Okay.
Yeah, 0.75. Cool. So no,
Yeah.
not 100 anymore, which would be lovely.
Yeah,
But
and I think LBC was like 25 US cents at that point, so it was like, a few bucks per view. It was pretty good.
I think the tip rate's probably a bit too high still. I know probably people are not going to like that because of how few views they get. But if their goal is to match YouTube or be slightly above them, I think that it's still too high.
Okay.
But
So you think they could be saving
they could
more?
definitely be saving, because right now I
Okay.
would say it's still probably, I don't know how many views I get a month, but I think I'm like making if you was were to extrapolate the number out, I think it'd be like triple what I'm making on YouTube,
Okay.
maybe
Um,
double.
I had a YouTube channel, but I had statistics lectures and random animal videos. Those are my main themes. Um, and I never monetized it. I don't think I had enough followers. But so your YouTube is monetized with ads?
It is, yes.
Okay. Do you have Brave as well
I do,
on your
yes.
YouTube channel? Do you get anything from that?
Yes, actually I do. I think last month I got like 26 baht, which is a couple of dollars.
Okay, that's more than nothing. I my Some of my YouTube videos had like few thousand views, and I never got more. I never got any bat for that for the YouTube channel. I sometimes get bat for my website, but a lot of the time it's just me on another device. I'm like, oh, my ad bat came through. I'll
Mm.
tip it to myself on my website. Um,
I think what helps me is the fact that I'm in this like programmy Linuxy sphere. So most
so
people are
you
probably
probably have lots
running,
of Brave browser
yeah.
people. Yeah, yeah.
Like there will
Uh,
still be people that would like who would like your lectures who would be using Brave, but the number of people I feel like would be considerably less.
yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Because
Um,
I get like 130,000 views a month, and I get 26 bats, so it's not like I'm rolling in money.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I still, I like Brave. It's my main browser. I just launch up Firefox when needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I've started using Tor browser lately. It's easier to use than I first thought it was. And I don't know if anyone else has had this experience, but you know how in Brave you can make a super private tab that uses Tor?
Mm-hmm.
When I first saw that, I was like, oh, that's cool because I know it's quite a quite a feature.
Mm-hmm.
But I got really annoyed because every time you'd go to a website, you'd have to do a captcha.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose because AI is getting so advanced, captchas are now really hard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm I have a PhD and I fail on captchas.
There was
What are we
a
gonna do?
there was a comedy skit I saw a little while ago by a couple of Australian guys. If anyone cares, by Fairbairn Boys. It was a video about trying to solve a captcha, and basically they got like 3 people in trying to like work out whether this one pixel was in this other part of the capture and whether the developers of the capture would think that that's how you're supposed to think it. And
It's like, it's the black edge of the traffic light.
Yes,
That
yes.
pokes into that box. Is that a traffic light?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, I usually say yes, and it usually lets me through.
I do the same thing, but the conclusion of the video was he was trying to buy, like, I don't know, just some, like, I think buying something on Uber Eats or something like that. It's like, why are you bothering me about this? Just doesn't matter.
With Uber Eats, it's like you're going to pay the money anyway. Who cares if you're a bot?
Yeah,
it's the credit card that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, captures, I get why they exist. But they're also okay. Also, the reason why they exist is they're there to train a neural network. That's what they are.
I remember that Lewis, what's his name, the Duolingo guy. He was idealistic. I think he came up with captures. He's from Carnegie Mellon University. I forget his name. And his idea was that you would have them for their usage on websites, and you would also be digitizing books by typing in the word that photo is.
Yeah, I've heard about this one, yeah.
But I don't know if that ever was actually used and actually successfully digitized any books that way. And right now, I guess we're the little guinea pigs that are making the training data for things that want to recognize motorcycles.
Well, yeah, we're just training Google's image recognition system. That's all reCAPTCHA is.
Okay. You get some tricky ones, like, is this, click everything that's a motorcycle, and it had a motor scooter on it. And I'm like, yeah, for legal purposes, it's a motorcycle. Motorcycle riders might balk.
Yeah, that's
especially the Harley types. Or sports, like, yeah. I don't know. I clicked yes, and anyway, when I was using the private the Tor tab
that's what we're talking about, right?
in Brave, that is what we were talking about. It was also ridiculously slow, and I knew it was slow because onion routing, whatever, which I don't really understand. But I started using the actual Tor browser, which appears to be a fork of Firefox.
Yes, it is.
And A, you don't get asked for captures nearly as much, and B, it's fast enough to watch YouTube videos through it. And so I've started using that more. Even if I'm like, doing something completely innocuous, which most of the time I am, I'll just be like, well, there's no reason someone needs to keep a record of the fact that I went to this random website that's completely innocent. I'll just use Tor for 10 minutes. Why not?
Yeah, that's fair.
And I'm learning how to use it, and I like that sort of thing. Obviously, it has bad uses too.
Well, yeah.
But
any tool like that, you're obviously going to have legitimate uses and also people trying to buy cocaine.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm pretty comfortable with what I'm using it for, and so
look, okay,
whatever.
Here's a tip for you guys. Tor browser isn't perfectly secure. If you're gonna go buy cocaine, do it in person. There.
And don't take your smartphone.
Yeah, definitely don't take your smart. Actually, no. Better yet, don't. Okay, this is going to be tips to all the drug dealers out there. Don't do your operations on Twitter. That's all I'm going to say.
Have people done that?
Yes.
I'm sure they have. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I don't condone any of that.
I don't condone it, but also if you're going to, put just
don't be stupid.
Little bit of thought into it.
I also read there was a guy who used Tor browser to send a bomb threat to his university or something. And it was actually really easy for them to find him because the network, it logs the fact that someone used Tor. So, and it turned out that in his region, he was the only person using it at that time.
Well, it's like the people who think that Bitcoin is like a secure coin and it's a private coin. Like, no.
No, you can probably put together a lot from it.
Well, if you know where the money ended up, and you can track that back. And unless they bought it from somehow managed to get it into their wallet, there's going to be a way to work out who actually bought that coin.
Yeah, and that's what people are worried about with, some people will have tainted Bitcoin. It's like, oh, that, 10 years ago, that came from drugs or something. And then they won't accept it.
Well,
But
the
I
same
guess
problem
people are
exists.
trying to work around that.
The same problem does exist with fiat currencies anyway. So, like, you might have like a $20 bill right now that was used in a drug trade. You don't know about that.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, and but that's better in the sense that people won't refuse your $20 note because of
Mm.
its history, because they don't know its history.
Mm-hmm. I get. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. There's also I've had similar thoughts about LBRY because you can post things anonymously, which really just means that you didn't sign them with your channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have anything where I would need to post it super anonymously and everything would need to be perfect. But I just wonder how hard would it actually be to figure out who posted an anonymous thing. Like if you go on the blockchain, you can probably put some clues together.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure how much information. It also depends on whether they've disabled their analytics stuff in the library app as well.
Oh yeah, if you have those on, then probably Library Inc. knows that you uploaded a
Yeah,
thing.
but at a bare minimum, they know your IP address, and if they know your IP
Yeah,
address, they know your region, and yeah, it's fairly easy to go from there.
and if it's a criminal thing, police or whoever might be able to go talk to the ISPs.
Mm-hmm. But
Um,
I don't. Yeah, I don't know how difficult that would be.
yeah, neither do I. So I just assume that I have some extra channels that aren't my name,
Mm-hmm.
and I just assume that it's obviously harder for anyone to know that that's me.
Mm-hmm.
But I just assume that ultimately everyone can, if they really want to know that it's me, that it's not a secret.
Well, yeah, it depends on how valuable of a target you are as well. Like with Bitcoin, for example, there are ways you can, and I guess anonymize isn't the best word. I guess you can. I don't know. There's not a good word I can think of. Basically, you can reduce the ability to trace you. There are ways you can basically move Bitcoin randomly between wallets and just make it so it's a very complex chain to follow.
Yeah,
And at some point, it doesn't become profitable to work out where you're actually going. Like
I see.
if you'll say, I don't know, you want to just hide the fact that you're buying, I don't know, you're buying, I don't know, beer or something. We'll go with that. You want to buy
Yep.
some beer and you don't want people to know you're buying beer with Bitcoin for some reason. You've got a weird life like that. There are ways you can make it harder to trace you. But if you're doing something where it would be like shutting down Silk Road, for example, that obviously, even doing that, at some point there's going to be enough reason to put the effort in.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, so if you're Big Fry,
Mhm.
then these little tricks probably won't do much.
Yeah, but
But if
just
you're just an average Joe and you're just like, "Oh, I just want a little bit more privacy,"
mhm,
then it's worth it.
pretty much.
And like you're saying about all or nothing with open source software, I think it's all or nothing with privacy and stuff as well.
Mhm,
I mean, it's not all or nothing. Um, I just try to be a little bit more cautious than the average person,
mhm.
and that's good enough for me um, at the moment. So it's like I don't have to go full Rob Braxman. I like his videos. I watch them,
The name's
and
not
I
ring.
you know I learn that I'm zucking myself at every opportunity. But
That name's
I
not
like to
ringing a
talk to my
bell.
family, so I log in to Facebook.
Rob
Rob Braxman at Rob Braxman Tech on Library.
Braxman. Rob Braxman.
He's the guy who says that you should always use a VPN, and he sells de-Googled phones and
Oh, this guy. Yeah, I have.
route routers with VPNs built into them
Mm-hmm.
and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, I have
It
seen a couple of his videos show up.
it can be scary if you watch them because it's like even if you're going out for a stroll, someone's front door security camera might be capturing you. It's just
Mhm.
like CCTV and stuff, but at houses. Um, and part of me is like, oh yeah, that is scary, and the other part of me is like, oh, who cares? And I never know what to think about stuff like that.
Well,
I,
with
you,
how
you,
everyone has a phone at this point, so you have to kind of assume that you're under surveillance at all times, especially if you're in
yeah,
a
pretty
big
much.
city.
Yeah. Um, I do imagine, I might try a bit harder with my current phone, but it's Android, and I
Mm.
have location services turned on, and I use Wi-Fi networks, and I don't follow Naomi Brockwell's advice to turn off the location thing in your Wi-Fi network.
Well, I have a
This is my
Chinese
address.
phone, so
A bunch of organization has. At least mine's from South Korea. I think that's a step above.
yeah,
No
but wait, let me just clean the back. But it's pretty.
It is pretty. Oh, that is good. Nice. The way it works in my household is that my wife gets the brand new phones when they come out. It's usually whatever the top of the line Samsung Galaxy is, and then 2 or 3 years later, I inherit that. So I'm on a couple of year old Galaxy S7 now, and it's doing fine.
I buy phones like once every 3 years. I always buy like whatever the $300 phone is. So it's always nice to see how good that like cheap like phone's actually getting, because this is so much better than what you could get for $300 like 4 years ago.
I've noticed a similar thing with guitars, that when I was a teenager, a cheap guitar was horrible. Like if someone had a guitar that was $150, it would be a pain, and it would sound bad, and it would hurt your fingers. But now a cheap guitar is quite decent.
That's what you get with
which is nice.
Moving all of your manufacturing to slave labor, basically.
But the technology in the plants is better too, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I would assume so. I've never been in a guitar plant. I don't know.
Me either. It would probably be giant.
I would assume so. So one thing I did want to talk about is how you actually like got to LBRY and why you wanted to dedicate so much time to actually improving not just the LBRY platform itself, just coming up with things like LBRYnomics. Why did you actually feel like that was something you wanted to dedicate your time to?
It started, I guess, in around it was 2017, and it was the big Bitcoin bubble where it got to $20,000. And one of my best friends was into Ethereum, and he had like 100 grand worth of Ethereum, and he said, "Brendon, you got to get some crypto. It's the future. Blah blah blah." And so I FOMO bought $100 of Bitcoin at the highest ever price that it's ever been, and I still have it. That bit, because I've spent Bitcoin like once. Once I renewed my domain name with it, but so there was that time, and I was I don't know if you know, but I'm an academic, and around 2015 or previous to that, I was kind of a typical academic in that I believed all the same things that my colleagues believed, and we were all politically left-wing. And I started to become skeptical of that in around 2015. And now I would consider myself to be somewhat conservative. But in around 2017, I was like, I'm an enlightened centrist. And I'm on Twitter, and I follow left people and right people and center people.
I know the
and
feeling.
I consider all points of view and come up with this, amazing balance.
I was at the exact same point around the same time.
Yeah. Now I'm like, I can't read, most of the newspapers that I used to think were awesome. Like Sydney Morning Herald, I just go, a lot of it is cringe. And even by saying that something is cringe, like half of my colleagues would assume something bad about me because I use that term, but whatever. Anyway, I was one of the right-wing guys I was following, or sort of more libertarian, I guess, was Alex Tabarrok. He's an economist at George Mason University in the States, and he is one of LBRY's advisors, and he just retweeted something about LBRY. Like, cool new way of publishing things, blockchain, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm interested in publishing things. I had a YouTube channel. Writing papers is my job. So I checked it out. I was like, oh, cool, new publishing system. And then I got frustrated with it because the experience wasn't very good. And I remember going on the Discord, and Julie was there, and she was trying to help me with something. And then I rage quit, which is a thing I do a lot. I'm just a bit of a temperamental guy. And I said, when it starts up and it says library beta, it should say pre-alpha. Because I honestly thought that that's the level that it was at. Like, I've used open source software for years by that point. I knew that beta felt more stable than that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it said beta. And then I didn't pay attention for a few months. Then I was like, oh, I'll have another go, see if the new version's better. And it was a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I went back. I started liking it more and more. Started collecting a bit more from the rewards.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to think, maybe one day this will be like Bitcoin and I'll be like those people who early adopted Bitcoin.
Gotta get your crypto Lambo.
Exactly. So the crypto Lambo was a big motivation. So I started emailing all people I knew who liked or anyone who maybe was not perfectly happy with YouTube and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and asking them to sync. And I was like, well, this will get me my Lambo. Paul Vanderklay, I don't know if you've seen it. He's a Christian guy, does religious sort of oriented commentary. He was the first person I ever convinced to sync his channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so excited. I was sitting on explorer.library.com waiting for my Lambo and clicking refresh. And one of his videos popped up on recent claims down the bottom. Yes. Yeah, it was starting to get better. I wanted my Lambo, but the price kept going down. And so for like 2 years, it was basically a law that that my balance was valued at about $1,000 US. Even if it was 10 times as much LBC as it used to be.
So, actually, roughly when do you think you joined? I want to see what the price was at that point.
It would have been. I can actually fire up my app right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I can tell you because it keeps the rewards history. So
I don't
I don't have the old wallet. I've cleaned out my wallet several times since then. But it'll have the rewards history, and it'll be my first stream or something from 2017. I think it was block 266,000 or something.
Fall that way back there. Cool. I'll show that on the screen. There we go. So
okay, my first nickel was November 3rd, 2017.
November 3rd. Oh, I'll get it close enough. Oh, you joined at one of the dips.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, it was 18 cents when you joined, and then it went all the way up to $1.50.
I didn't have...
Sorry, $1.70 actually.
Let's just say I was not a whale. Now I am.
God, if you okay. So if you had bought at 18 cents and then sold at $1.70, there's your crypto Lambo.
Yeah, that's 10%, but you really, you have to be willing to risk it all.
And yeah, if we look at the entire graph,
it's a sad graph, isn't it?
Very sad graph. But this is sort of what happens with a lot of crypto projects. There's a lot of hype when they first come out. What was the initial price? Like $2, something dumb?
Yeah, for a week it was $2 or something.
Yeah. And that's when people first hear about the project and don't buy then. That's a bad idea. It's not going to go up.
Well, who knows?
Now we are at 2.9 cents. But yeah, the platform's good now. That's the difference.
There has been in my life, in my sort of library interest, there has been no correlation whatsoever that I've noticed between the price and anything. It's like
speculation.
The user base triples, nothing happens. Everyone quits, nothing happens. Servers break for a week, nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
Great new feature that suddenly makes it way better, nothing happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Odyssey dropped, and it's just like,
yeah. And the actually on LBRYnomics you can see that since Odyssey came out, usage of the library network is higher.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my favorite proxy for how many people are using this is the number of reposts per day, which before Odyssey was about 1,000 and now it's about 1,500.
Okay,
Because
so
I think, a repost has a cost.
Mhm.
Someone is there sitting there and they click that button. That's like a real person doing something.
What is grass? Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Number of channels,
So,
number of reposts.
so
That
the
one.
number of reposts, yeah. And if you look at the bottom graph there, that's
Yes.
been measured since reposts started to exist, which was early 2020, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, something like
Is
that.
it early 2020? Yeah. And then you can see a big spike up. That's when they introduced a reward
Mhm.
where if you so the
Ah.
first spike in the number of reposts, it's repost your 5 favorite channels and get LBC. So of
Mhm.
course everyone did it. Then there's another big peak. That's when all the crypto people got kicked off YouTube.
Mhm.
And then
Through a
when it
bug.
died down, that was a bug, was it?
Yeah, everyone getting kicked off is a bug.
Oh, really? And
Mhm.
there was even a week ago, there was people want to believe what they want to believe because
Mhm.
Brett Weinstein, some people will know who Brett Weinstein is. He got kicked off Facebook the other week
Mhm.
or like the other day,
I did hear about that.
and
Yeah.
everyone wants to think, evil Facebook kicking out people with, what 5 years ago was a completely mainstream opinion. And I haven't looked into it in detail, but the official explanation was we have some software that tries to identify, fake pages. Like, as in, you can go on Facebook and make a page called Brett Weinstein if you want,
Mhm.
and it was just an incorrect flagging in that. That actually is a reasonable explanation.
It
But people want to
is,
be that guy on,
but
but I still believe that Facebook is evil and all that,
Mhm.
but and that they do, take down who they don't like while leaving up who they do like, even though
Mhm.
they're both either breaking or not breaking the rules. Um, but everyone wants to be that guy on Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Like, look, I'm being oppressed. I don't know if you're too young for that clip,
No,
but
I've seen plenty of. I haven't seen the entirety of it, but I've seen clips of it.
yeah, like there have been people coming into the library Discord sometimes saying like, if there's some little glitch or something, it's like censorship. Why are you repressing me? Blah blah blah, and it was just some bug or whatever.
So, okay. Speaking of that, though, there is one thing I do want to talk about in that regard. Um, it has to do with the way that libraries monitor bugs. It's just a mosquito or something. There was about the library monetization. For the longest time, they've been saying that they do not demonetize people, but they're framing it in a very strange way where
It depends what you mean.
they're technically not wrong, but it's also slightly disingenuous to say that. They will, under certain circumstances, disable your tip rewards.
Yeah, exactly.
But you still have the wallet, so you can still receive tips. But I feel like it's slightly disingenuous to say they don't demonetize channels
Or can't.
or can't
Is what
demonetize channels because
can't
they
yeah.
act like they will do it, and they have done it to plenty of
Check.
channels who upload copyrighted material or upload
Yeah.
things that are literally against the law. That are
Yeah. It
things
just
that most
depends
people will
on
agree shouldn't
whether
be
you
on.
define a certain thing as being monetized or not. It's like,
Mm,
but yeah, but certainly if you upload, pirated movies,
mm,
they're not going to send you free tips
yeah.
per view. But someone else could send you a tip if they wanted to.
Yes, they absolutely
Yeah.
could. But I feel like that's the same way that YouTube doesn't stop you putting in like tip links into your description. Like, yes, they are
Okay.
there, but it's not like that's the same sort of thing as actually being monetized by the platform.
Right. Yeah, it is. It is sort of like, having here's my tip jar. Does anyone ever get a donation from that?
Uh,
I used to have one on my website, and now, because after 2017, I was like, oh, everyone has, here's my Bitcoin address, blah blah blah.
mhm.
I'll do that, but it seems useless.
The
Like
one that
no one's
everyone's
doing it.
using now, at least in like the Linux and programming sphere, is Buy Me a Coffee. You've heard of that
Is
one?
that Ko-fi.com?
Uh, no, it's buymeacoffee.com, which is
Okay,
I don't know how they managed to get that URL.
Okay.
I'll
That
send you.
sounds similar to Ko-fi.com, but is that just a thing where you can click a link and go
Yeah.
send a few bucks?
Yes, that is exactly what it is.
Okay. Seems fine. Although since liking LBRY, I get annoyed that when I send a tip to someone, it doesn't make their website trend. Like, and what's the point? If I tip bat to someone, it doesn't, make it go up in Google search. I'm like not easily satisfied now. I
What you
want that to
could
happen.
do, okay, from the website developer's side, right? When they
Yeah.
get a tip, add another SEO keyword into their website.
Interesting. So, like, maybe if Brave made their own search, they could, because they probably keep
They
a
could.
record of who's tipped to. Then they could consider tips in their search
No, I was
engine.
thinking doing it from the developer side. Just just basically kneecap your website until you start getting tips on it.
Yeah, I see.
Not a good idea. I
Okay.
wouldn't
So you
recommend it.
could make it worse. I see. Yeah, I need to do some SEO on my website. I don't really know what I'm doing, but
I don't have any idea with SEO. I'm pretty bad with it on YouTube. I'm getting better, but I still have no idea how to do it properly.
isn't one of the tricky things with YouTube is that you have to is that it's sort of changing, and you're trying to sort of make your content so that it's likely to be recommended on the side.
Yes.
So, but they somehow don't have reply girls, which I
Mhm.
learned was a thing from you because LBRY had a few
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been
for
on
like a
YouTube
week,
since
and then they went away.
I've been
Yeah,
on YouTube since like 2006. So like literally when it like just after it started. I remember when because I used to live in Queensland and we had dial up there. So when
yeah,
I got back to South Australia, we got this magical thing called DSL, and
oh wow,
it was so fast. We had like 1 megabit down. It was crazy. But when we moved in, my cousin was a programmer, and he told
yeah,
me about this new website that had just launched called YouTube. And I was like, "That's a cool
yeah,
website. I've never heard of that before." And we see how that went. But I've
yeah,
been on YouTube since like a couple months after the start. Like I think before even the Google acquisition.
and that's all all in one channel, or is your
I
old
no,
stuff
I've
going
had
on?
multiple channels.
Okay,
There's a channel that exists that has videos from when I was very young, and I'm saving it for a special occasion.
interesting, but it's not very easy to find via search.
It's nothing like any of the names I use now. It's very
Okay,
easy to find. If you know the name, it's the first thing that shows up.
okay, but the name isn't Brodie Robertson.
It is not Brody Robertson.
Okay.
No,
So how's internet going in Australia now?
we can
Because I
find.
know there's the NBN, but is that fully built out or not? I don't really know.
Okay. So we've had multiple government changes, and we've the plans. The plan's a mess. Basically, originally it was
Yeah,
supposed to be fiber to the home.
yeah.
Now it's
And
fiber
then
to the node, copper to the home. Um,
is the copper much of a bottleneck, or is it
yes.
is it FUD to say it's a
It's
bottleneck, or is it true?
100-year-old copper. It's
Okay.
bad. It's very bad. Some places better, some places worse. If you're in
Yeah,
like a newly built area, it's
yeah.
fine. But if you're in
Okay,
one of the places like if like if you're in any of the suburbs that have existed for a while, it's not
yeah.
good.
Okay,
Um, but we can do a speed test right now and find out what my speed is.
okay.
Generally, it's okay. It's gotten better than what it was. Originally, the NBN was. I'm not going to show. Actually, I just realized I shouldn't show this on the screen. It's got my IP address. I'll just tell you what the results are.
Okay.
Early on, you would pay for like say 50 down, and you would get
Yep.
20. But
Yep.
this was a problem, and people didn't like this and kind of started making court cases
Right.
about it because
Yeah, you're advertising something that you're not delivering.
So now I think you have to deliver 75%. So if you're paying for 50 during peak times, you at worst get like 30 or so.
Ah, so the peak performance has to be at least a
Yes.
decent fraction of what the ad says. That's
Yes.
useful.
Okay, so for me right now, I'm paying for 50, but I've got somehow they're giving me more than I'm paying for. 52.81 down, 18 up, which is not good, but it's not terrible.
Yeah, 18 up, it's like,
I can stream.
yeah, it's a bit slow. Yeah. I'll run mine because we live in a brand new house
Mm-hmm.
in a brand new subdevelopment with fiber
Mm-hmm.
to the premises, and I'm
Oh.
plugged in via Ethernet. Yeah, it's quite luxurious. And this is how I knew that when I couldn't download things from library at faster than 0.2 megabytes per second,
Mm-hmm.
that something was wrong. And it turned out, I stressed about this for ages. It turned out to be about 4 problems,
Mm-hmm.
and they were all independent. And a couple of them were on library's end. One
Mm-hmm.
of them was that if you went to library.tv or odyssey.com and tried to stream, and your computer made the request using IP version 6,
Mm-hmm.
it would redirect you from their Australian server to instead one on the east coast of the United States.
Jesus.
And so you couldn't stream if your request was IP version 6, you couldn't stream. Even just, Auckland to Sydney, you should stream no problem.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just a dumb bug. There were a couple of other ones that they've also solved, so it works a lot better now. But there was a third problem, or a fourth problem, I think, which was my laptop. And this is the thing I don't like about Linux, and I know that the same thing happens on Windows, but it seems to happen more on Linux. I have an HP Pavilion, sort of middle of the range laptop.
Mm-hmm.
And it has an Ethernet card in it, which is an Realtek something R8168. And apparently that's one where there's 2 different versions of the kernel module, and one of them sucks,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one's good. And I was running the sucky version, so I was kind of arbitrarily limiting the performance just because I didn't know that there was this other driver that uses DKMS, whatever that is. And so now I've installed that from the AUR, and it's awesome. But I'll tell you my speed test results. So I got 3 millisecond ping, 803 download, 459 upload.
There are places in Australia that are getting gigabit.
Yeah.
We're slowly realizing that, hey, this plan to make Australia, a tech center of the world by getting internet from 15 years ago is not a good idea. So
Yeah.
they're like, okay, we actually need to properly lay fiber. The weird thing about the NBN rollout is the way they did it is they rolled out the fiber plan to the places that had really bad internet first.
Okay.
So
But those are also the places where no one's going to run a tech company.
Yes. Right? I can literally move to Alice Springs. If anyone... Okay. I'm going to show people where Alice Springs is. Do you know where Alice Springs is? You've probably heard of it.
Yeah, sure do. I'm Australian.
Okay, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Forgot. Alice Springs. So here is a map of Australia. Where's maps? Maps. There we go. Just for people who don't know where Alice Springs is. So...
It's in the middle somewhere.
Yes, okay. I thank you, Google Maps. Just delete my search. Good job.
Censorship.
No, me just clicking the X button. So, this is Australia. The center of it is a desert. The center of it is where you can get gigabit internet.
That's really funny.
There are basically no people that live there. Okay,
Alice Springs isn't that tiny, is it?
It's a big city for the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But you can still get gigabit in literally the middle of nowhere. But yeah, the rollout basically, they rolled out to all the rural towns. Well, they rolled out to a lot of rural towns and also rolled out to Melbourne and stuff. Because obviously Melbourne is where all the big tech companies live. Melbourne and Sydney. So Adelaide, I think Adelaide has it in some places, but mainly it's rural towns and big cities. But hopefully they want to do it. We'll see if it happens. I think the plan's 2030 or something. Maybe we'll have fiber. But I don't think so.
Well, just do the best with what you got.
Yeah, I've said it to my parents, because I've kind of want to move out to a rural area, but if I have to move out to Murray Bridge, which is 300 k's from where I am now, and it's it's a little town with like 600. How? I'm gonna find exactly how many people are in Murray Bridge. Murray Bridge is on the border between South Australia and Victoria. There is no, that's not. That's the length of it, and that is the Murray River. No, I don't want Murray River. I want Murray Bridge. Thank you, Google. There is 18,000 people that live there. It's not super tiny, I guess.
Yeah,
But
you'll have some okay shops.
there's like there's a dollar store there. There's a dollar store that's been there for like 70 years. And
That's one
there are 2 pubs
one
as
thing you
well.
notice about New Zealand is that dollar stores still exist
Mm-hmm.
and dairies still exist, which is the Kiwi word for a corner shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what's different between here and Australia. If you ask people, they'll say, "Oh, duopoly, Coles and Woolies."
Mm-hmm. Well,
But
there are a couple of little
Woolworths
delis that
equivalent to
exist
here.
still, but not as much as there would have been in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, I really don't know what's different. I think one thing that New Zealand has a reputation for sort of feeling like you're in a time warp and you're in the past in
Mm.
some respects, but also being quite ahead of the curve in other respects.
Yeah, you've got
And I
gigabit.
Yeah, and I think it was one of the first countries to have FPOS.
Okay.
So for overseas people or non-Australasians, that would be paying by debit card.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the costs are really cheap for businesses. So if you go to a dairy, they won't take credit card because they don't want to pay the 2% or whatever. But they'll take FPOS, and everyone uses that. And I think they were one of the first countries to get that, which is kind of cool.
Before we get too far away from this internet thing, how much are you paying for that?
Hard to say because it's combined with we have a deal, so we get our TV and phone and everything together. But it's not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
I can look up the plan actually.
Because I'm for my 50 down, like 16 up, it's like $60-$70, something like that.
I think this might be like $90 or $100.
100
like
will
that.
get you 100 down. That is what you'll get here.
Okay, and that's DSL or fiber or copper?
That's fiber, copper, no nonsense.
Okay, yeah, that's not great.
No.
Yeah, I use the internet so much that it's clearly worth it for us to get this one.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave us a year free if we fixed our term, blah blah blah. So even though Vodafone has terrible customer service, we stick with them.
This is Vodafone. I don't like it, but
we've had some pretty horrible experiences with them. And my wife was reading a consumer magazine, and which sometimes annoys me because they seem to always think the customer's always right and the business is always evil. Whatever, and sometimes the business is evil, but a lot of the time, business just has to deal with reality. And but the thing they said about the telcos was that one of their marketing strategies is to confuse the customer into getting a slightly more expensive plan than they thought they were getting, or into adding an optional extra that they didn't realize they were adding. And that's happened to us where I feel like the person just lied. It's like we were paying only for 1 month, but we paid like $9.95 to have like a license for some antivirus software.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. And I have no idea where they got that from. But we had it for a month. They refunded it, but it was after we sent several emails and had annoying phone calls.
My phone is prepaid, so I don't have to deal with that. And my internet, my housemate deals with because I'm share housing right now.
Yeah, well, that's a useful thing because then you don't have to be involved with it. It is fun owning a house.
I want to own my own place eventually, but right now I don't have the money for it.
Yeah. Well, instead of a Lambo, right?
Yeah.
If LBC hit its all-time high again, I could almost pay off our mortgage, and we bought this year.
Actually, let's just assume $2.
$2 US. I'll just convert that to New Zealand to account for income tax. So
Yeah.
basically, it's $2 New Zealand after tax.
Okay, so actually, I don't even know if I want to say how much I have.
I don't want to say either, but if anyone watches my dodgy content enough and knows what channels are my friends
Mhm.
and who show up in trending a lot, they could figure it out.
I'll say I could buy a house in cash. That's all I'll say.
Nice. That wouldn't be a bad place to be.
I don't have
But
Michael Hebo money from his 100 LBC tips.
yeah, that's true. I think he had to sell some to pay some bills recently, so
But
maybe that's what caused the dip.
I've kind of said it before that I don't really care what happens to LBC because I either make a couple of grand or a couple of $100,000. Either way, I'm making money from this.
Me too, and I'm not a big crypto investor, whatever, but I have a couple of grand of Bitcoin,
Mhm.
and I'd like to have a bit more, but I can't justify. Well, with the LBC price the way it is, I can't justify changing it to Bitcoin. I feel
Mhm.
like I'd be ripping myself off, and I'd kick myself forever if I sold a lot of it at this
Mhm.
price, and then it went up.
Well, yeah, even just a couple of months ago, it was at 6 or 7 cents.
Yeah, for like a day. And my wife says, "See, you should have sold it, 6 cents." And I'm like, "But if I sold it 6 cents and then it became $1 again, it's been $1 before, twice."
Mhm. But
Um,
people are getting very like it. People have always had problems with YouTube, but it's getting very bad recently.
yeah. And the number of people joining Odyssey is actually quite good. And some of the creators are, recommending it, doing exclusives,
Mhm.
putting it sort of on a par with BitChute, which, I made a BitChute account, but just the just the front page,
I
I
have
supp
BitChute as well, but
yeah, I'm right of center, and I am not a free speech absolutist, but I'm, closer to that end than a lot of people.
I will go to
But I
BitChute.
didn't want to put my name on on a BitChute channel.
I'm not actually subscribed to anyone on BitChute. I'm gonna look at what the homepage looks like right now. Okay,
Yeah.
so Corbett report. That's fine. We don't have a problem with that one. God, I don't know if I want to show you this on the screen. I'm not going to say that title. Let's find one that I can say without getting pulled off of YouTube. Oh, here we go. Adrenochrome satanic ritual sacrifice and abuse of children by authorities. And then in square brackets, description box. Okay. How sad Joe Biden is lost in space as he tries to remember who is sitting president right now.
That's because he said George. He was like, "I am running against George" or something. I listened to Tim Pool this morning. That's how I know that.
Yeah, I haven't watched him in a while, but
And even like academia is so weird that you could get called all sorts of names if you say you like Tim Pool.
okay, there's a Tim Pool video. That's fine. Tim
Yeah.
does have he has really bad titles. Like this title is like 100 characters long.
They're total clickbait.
NYPD suspends cop for saying Trump 2020, but praises cop who took a knee with Black Lives Matter. If I have to struggle to say that in one breath, your title's too long.
Yeah.
But it works for him.
Yeah, he's doing well, and his other channels are on Odyssey now /LBRY. Timcast IRL and Timcast, the other one, News.
Yes, I was
That's
hearing weird things in the Discord about him not knowing that he was on LBRY or something. What was that about?
I don't know if was supposed to say that publicly, but I did because I don't remember where I heard it from. I might have heard it from when I had lunch with Julian, who coincidentally lives in the same city as me. We had lunch and rambled about everything, and I may have heard it from him or somewhere else, but apparently Tim Pool would say like, I never synced my channel to LBRY. You have my channel, but it's not authorized. So maybe I don't know if it was him or his team, because obviously he's got a team. But I guess they just accept it now, and I don't think he should ever have. Like, I don't think it would have been bad to say, "Oh, you're republishing my content on another platform, and you've given me." I think he's on about 250,000 LBC from tips, which is 1 part in 4,000 of total supply. Max supply, I should say. And if you think about that, that's a lot. And these whales like MH and Electron, I'm pretty sure the LBRYnomics channel, which is like always at the top and we never publish anything. I think that's got like almost 1 million staked against it. And that's 1 part in 1,000 of all the LBC that will ever exist. That's insane. And
I think this might be a problem going forward, especially as the platform starts getting a bit bigger. I don't know what's going to happen with the supply, because it's definitely pooling up. Like I know how much I have, and I know how much Crypto Hustler has, and that's already a very, very big chunk. And then MH,
it's quite concentrated,
and LBRYnomics and things like that. Like, I don't know what's going to happen going forward.
They're not going to sell at this price. But I think if it did go up, then a lot of them would sell, and it would get more distributed.
Yeah, it will. If it does sell, though, the price is going to go boom, because it's going to be a big sell. Like,
it's hard to say what happens with asset markets, because like if the price is going up and a lot of people are selling, you know, you see the trend thing. At every point on that graph, there are buyers and sellers.
Sure,
that's what the price is. So, you know, if it's doing this and someone sells a bunch at that price, you know, it's whether people think other buyers are going to come.
I guess it could introduce more buyers, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, the whale problem is a big issue with the trending, which I know you've complained about a lot, and
I've complained about, but I'm also part of the problem because I do it to myself.
I do it to myself too. I have a little bit of shame, and I feel like some people don't. Not going to name names, but Artie Intel is he's in trending a lot. I feel like if anyone has like figured out the perfect botting support thing to get the most views possible on LBRY, it's him.
Well,
but
yes.
And I boost my own stuff, you know. I'm like, oh, I haven't had much LBC for 3 days. I'm going to boost some old piece of crap. You know, I do that. But I feel bad about it, so I don't do it all the time.
Well, I've told the LBRY team that I'm like, okay, so before a couple of months back, I was happily supporting other people, but I decided to completely boycott that because of the way they broke their interface. And I refused to support other people because of it. When they merged the tipping and support interface together. And now the only difference is a checkbox.
I think that will be changing back again to something more like how it was before.
I hope so, because
I've heard whisperings. It's because you might accidentally tip someone.
I know people who've accidentally tipped like multiple thousands LBC, and luckily they knew the person, and the person gave it back. But
I did that once too.
But because I would happily support people like 60,000 LBC, but I'm not doing that if I could accidentally tip them that.
Yep. Yep. I actually once there was some random girl uploaded like some video of her prom dress or something. This was when the coin price was like 0.6 US cents, and it was like me and the crazy gamer and you know, 5 other people seemed to be actually using LBRY at that time. And so I came across this random video, and it was an okay video. I was like, I'll support this person to give her some encouragement. And it was only a small support, like 5,000 LBC. And there was a glitch in the app that showed it as a tip. So I spent like half an hour panicking, like trying to track down this person, finding an email address. And I started writing up a draft email like, hey, I thought your video was good. I was going to do a support, but I accidentally sent a tip. If you know, be so kind as to send most of it back, I would be happy if you kept a bit of it for your trouble. And then Control R, I refreshed the app, and then it was a support. That can still happen.
Yes, I know.
Saw it the other day. Yeah, especially when it's pending. Don't trust the transaction history when it's pending.
Yep.
Or the balance. I had the opposite thing. I thought someone had sent me a 50,000 tip, but it was just my support that I had revoked 10 minutes ago coming back, and it was still pending.
I've noticed that the transaction history has gotten much better as the wallet's improved, because I've said this, actually, look, I'm kind of the person. I'm the big creators are the people who really stress test the wallet. I don't notice
Yep.
it getting any faster because every time we get a wallet upgrade, it's bringing it back to usable. Because I
Yeah.
think I have like close to 3,000 pages in my wallet right now, and there are people
Yeah.
with bigger wallets than I have. So I it's probably really fast. I have no idea how fast it is, but on my wallet, it sometimes will take like 10 minutes to get rid of a stake or get rid of a support.
That's quite slow.
It is, yeah.
And I wonder what's happening because I do know, and this is from learning databases, that one thing that the library desktop app does
Mhm,
is that it saves all the transactions that happened on an address that's associated with your wallet
mhm,
in a local database that you
mhm,
can find. And so when I go to transaction history and I go find all active supports,
mhm,
I imagine that that database is then doing, select star from transaction where something is a support and it's still active.
mhm.
And I'm like, yeah, there's 1,000 pages in mine. What's that going to be, like 20,000 records or something? And maybe there's an inner join or maybe joins a query, but it still doesn't seem like it should take 20 seconds
Yeah.
because that's a local one, I think. I don't think that's a thing where it has to query the wallet server to get more data. I think that's a thing that's just happening locally on your computer.
Mm.
So maybe, it's a lot of the things I'm discover are a lot harder than I feel like they are, but maybe there are ways to speed that up that they just haven't done yet because they're always spread thin.
They are speeding things up. Like if you have a small wallet, it's way faster than it was.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I
But I don't know if
hmm,
if uh if Tim Pool or something or David Pacman, like he's got like 12,000 videos in his channel or
mhm,
something. That's going to be hefty too with the wallet.
mm,
Um, I don't know how they're going to do anything. That channel causes a bit of pain on the LBRYnomics measurements. Like once a day, I have to get the view count of everything inside those 2,000 channels so I
mhm,
can add them up to update that table. And there are a couple of channels that are way slower than the rest. David Pacman, because I have to do it in heaps of batches,
mhm.
and Gutenberg, which was a guy on the Discord, Blanks. He wrote a mass
Ah.
uploading tool. And then he scraped the Gutenberg project for all the EPUBs of their books. And so it's a channel with 50,000 things in it. And I get the view count for all of it.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. it's it'll be helpful when playlists and stuff come in so you can organize things within a channel.
Mhm.
But apparently the backend for playlists has existed for like a year and they just haven't put it in the GUI yet.
That's kind of weird because it's the problem that libraries had for a while has been the fact they haven't had marketers. They've had plenty of programmers to do stuff like that.
I don't know how many programmers they have
Oh,
that
plenty of programming
can.
experience, I guess.
Yeah, but I think they're a bit specialized. I think the main app guy slash web guy is Sean Yesment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know that Tom knows how to program the app, but I don't know if the other employees know how to program the app.
Mm.
Like, because there's also Ukraine, Lex Berezhny, and he can program a wallet server. And in fact, he completely rewrote it. So you know how I said that it has a single SQLite database running, which is the kind of niceified version of everything that's happened on the blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
They're switching the backend, so it's going to be Postgres, and apparently that's going to make a lot of things faster. So if you are currently getting the error where you navigate around, sorry, your request timed out.
Oh, you cut out for a second there.
Okay. If you ever get that error, if you're navigating around library or something, and it says, sorry, your request timed out,
Mm-hmm.
try again later. That error should go away when the new wallet servers come in.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's just, SQLite is good,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not the solution for beyond a certain size
Mm-hmm.
and level of concurrency and all that stuff. And so it's the blockchain's kind of outgrowing that. I think it's about 15 gigs now in an SQLite database is quite big.
Yeah, I know that. Who was it that got the? Who did the breakthrough with the library sync?
That was Nico
So
Storning.
I'm guessing he's probably fairly specialized for that side as well.
And I think he has a lot to do with servers. So when I had problems with the streaming server and there was the IP6 bug where I was trying to stream from the States instead of Sydney, that was his responsibility mostly. Yeah, and there are some other people. There are other people that have more to card the blockchain itself and so on.
But I am happy to see that they brought Julian on, who actually knows how to market, because programmers don't know how to market.
I agree.
I love Jeremy, but he's not good at marketing library. He's a good speaker.
Same.
He's an amazing speaker. If you bring him on a podcast or something like that, yeah. But
he's really good at marketing to people who are like him.
Yes.
And that's good, but you're also going to max out at like 1% of people.
Yeah, he can bring the crypto and the tech guys on, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. And the more libertarian types, no problem. But yeah. I mean, even what you and I are comfortable with some more edgy content, but we're afraid to associate ourselves with BitChute a little bit.
Well, no, I have a problem associating my name with BitChute. If I wasn't using my name, I wouldn't have a problem.
I see.
Or if I wasn't using my face as basically what I'm doing, then maybe it'd be fine. But I upload to BitChute, but I don't consider it to be a very very integral part of my my uploading schedule.
Yeah. I remember now. You have the philosophy of upload to everything.
Yes, I take the sticks, hex, and hammer approach. Yeah,
I think that's a good philosophy, but it's not mine. Mostly because I'm not really like a content creator, so to speak. I'm just a guy, and I have some channels.
Actually, Sticks does it way better than I do. He's on literally everything. I don't know how he finds all this stuff.
There was that brand new tube that existed for like a week and then disappeared. And I don't know what Brighteon is. Does BitTube still exist?
BitTube does exist. It's now a they still have their website, but they're now just a PeerTube instance.
Interesting.
They're not even their own thing anymore.
I don't really understand PeerTube. To me, from the small amount of propaganda probably that I've heard of it from, because I heard about it from MH, and he made his video libraries better, which, I'm all for shilling library, but, sometimes it's not completely true. It seems like PeerTube is sort of the equivalent of, you can make a server and put your videos on it.
Yeah, it's basically that, but there's also a network that already exists that connects all the servers together.
I see. So it's... And I imagine there is some software that you run on your server that makes it have nice video streaming things in it.
Yeah, basically.
So it's not just it's not an HTTP server, for example.
No, every PeerTube thing has the PeerTube interface. You can customize that. I presume there's a way to run a headless mode as well and then write your own interface, but I don't actually know. But mostly what I see is people running the PeerTube thing with their own theme on it, and then the way it works is the servers that are connected to you, basically they work as peers and I guess have the data on all of their own servers, but you can also download it through a torrenting method as well.
Okay.
So they just have various ways to lighten the load on the servers, but the problem I have with PeerTube is there's no way to monetize it except doing external monetization.
Yeah. Interesting. So that's... Yeah. That does sound actually quite nice, but I like library, and it's partially, because I'm invested in it emotionally and financially.
Well, I'm happy to try something else, but right now, as long as library doesn't drop the ball, they've done it a couple of times, and luckily no one's been close enough to take their position. But as long as library doesn't drop the ball, they are the biggest alternate platform right now besides BitChute. BitChute's bigger,
they do seem
BitChute
to be
has problems.
Yeah. And Odyssey is picking up in mentions, I see, and people like it. So when everyone came to Library TV, you'd get all these comments like, "Oh, this is weird. I don't get that. Why does it do this?" And when you go in the Odyssey comments, people are like, "This is really slick. This is lovely. I
The
like it. It
one big
works."
thing I still see is,
Yeah.
I can't watch this. I'm in a third world country.
Yep. And I don't know what they're going to do about that, but they are at least thinking about it.
There's solutions I've seen proposed. They will be very heavy on the network, so I hope there's better solutions that come up. Basically, it's having... So when you upload a video, you would say,
Yeah.
I want a 720p version, I want a 480p, I want a 360p, and then they would have 3 links to videos, and basically when you select the quality, it would basically transfer you over
Just
to that.
download the one you want.
Yeah, but the problem then you would have basically tripling the network size.
Yeah,
Oh, I guess
unless, and
doubling.
this is going to be very a bit technical.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure that when you publish something to library, one of the things that gets published in your claim, which is your like attempt to have a URL and your description and your metadata, one of the things is the stream hash, which is just I think it's the SHA-384 hash of your file. If they can put 3 stream hashes in instead of 1 in a single claim, that's not that much extra. So you won't be duplicating the whole thing 3 times. Say you'll just be duplicating like one part of it, which is 384 bytes long.
Well, no, I mean,
Like if you have
the problem's going to be on the data network side, not the blockchain side.
Oh, I see. So, suddenly their reflector servers and all of our hardware are going to have 3 versions to
Yeah.
deal with. Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be... there's
Yeah.
ways you can do it on the blockchain side. You're just adding a couple of extra things for every video. I'm sure there's ways you can optimize that.
Yeah.
The data network's the problem here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Especially if they want to support streaming at some point.
Live streaming, which they do. But I think maybe if they can really get micropayments for uploaders, seeders.
Yeah, that'll be a big one.
Get it. Yeah. Or they could even just find someone who has big servers like Scammer Revolts and say, here's 1 million LBC, run a server to mirror everything at low resolution.
I have a feeling that LBRY's going to have to go through a hard fork at some point. There are problems with the coin that exist right now that are going to make it very difficult to expand in the future, especially when it comes to that paying the network.
Yeah. I think they've always said, long-term future Lightning Network, something. Wave your hands. Because that would have to be off-chain. No one's going to make all these, 0.00001 transaction every time.
Oh yeah, there's off-chain stuff. I'm not big on the crypto side. I don't understand what off-chain, how off-chain works.
I think off-chain works is sort of like I don't know. It's like if I say I owe you a Bitcoin, which I don't, but for argument's sake. But if we trusted each other,
I hope you don't right now. It's not good for you if you do.
I could say I owe you a Bitcoin, and if we trust each other, that's good enough. And eventually it'll go on chain, but it's not right now. It's that you have the piece of paper that says I owe you. And it's stuff like uphold.com. When you transfer Bitcoin into there, that happens on chain, but then if you convert some Bitcoin to ETH, it's just them with a database saying that you transferred Bitcoin to ETH. It's just like a bank.
Okay.
I think.
Okay, that makes sense. I was just overthinking it, I guess.
I'm sure there's way more complexity than that, but I think that's the rough idea.
But I don't know, because the problem is this very limited supply, and the fact that it's very much consolidating in the whales. There's going to come a point where I do want the people who run the network to be paid. They really should be paid, but I don't know how you can.
A service.
Sorry?
They're offering a service, and it's kind of a vital one.
But I don't know how you
turned off their servers. A lot of stuff would be unavailable. Some would, but a lot wouldn't.
I don't know how you can keep that going into the future, though. That's my biggest worry. You can do it while rewards exist, but what happens then?
I think it's supposed to be that data payments exist, and so people will run a reflector server as a business, sort of like miners.
Okay.
They'll be like, I get 1 LBC per, per 1 gigabyte that I upload or whatever. It's worth it for me to run this server.
But how long does that actually last for? That's the problem. Like, eventually you run out of the amount that can be generated. But
no, this is paid by the users.
Okay.
You won't be able to download anything without making a micropayment to the uploader.
Okay.
I think that's sort of how it works.
Right, that would also go into the wanting to bring in advertisements as well, because that goes back to the crypto problem. Most people aren't going to understand why they have to pay.
Yeah. And at the moment, it's easy because you get some for free, so it's like, why are you complaining? Except for people in... I feel sorry for legitimate people in countries with a higher proportion of dodgy people. Because, it's so easy for you and me to just, oh yeah, you're approved for rewards.
Yeah.
And you're approved to get tips for everyone that views your video. And, some poor person is unable to upload a single thing. And, I'm sure that only a small minority of those would be uploading cool things that are good. But I'm sure some, obviously some good people are caught in the crossfire of that.
I don't know how you can really address that, though. That's the big issue.
Yeah. You know what? If anyone's watching this and you're not approved for rewards, and I can verify that you were declined for rewards, and you can prove to me that you have really good content that you need to post, I'll give you 50 LBC to post it.
50 will last you a good while, for sure.
You can post like 1,000 things or something with 50. Maybe a bit more. If you have short claim names and descriptions, it'll be cheaper.
Yeah. From LBRY side, I understand why they do it, because there was a serious problem early on, and there has not even just early on. When I joined, like, that was when view tips came back, because I joined before view tip. Look, when I joined, there were no view tips; they'd been disabled for a while. And I noticed.
I don't remember them being disabled. I remember the amount changing various times.
I recall them not being there when I joined.
Okay.
So maybe they were gone for a little bit or something.
Maybe they were like under maintenance or something.
But when I joined, there was nothing there. Platform was pretty bare because we didn't have notifications, but you weren't getting all the spam that you did. Then as soon as they came back, it got really bad. Like, the comments were full of people trying to, like, do follow me, follow back.
Yeah. Yep.
If we go back, actually look at my channel comment history, we can actually see some of those.
Some of them now are censored. I guess if you get demonetized by them, in the sense that your rewards approval is revoked, I think they also add you to a list where your comments don't show.
I'm still seeing a lot of the comments.
Okay.
Seguindo 7752.
Yeah, that
following
means
6432.
That means following in Spanish. And it's a little bit unfortunate, but you can joke about recompensas and and that stuff.
Yeah, this, like, as I said, I feel bad, but yeah, it makes sense why LBRY does it.
It's, if you're a person who is tempted to say follow for follow, you could just instead say, nice content, I enjoyed that, thanks Brody. You're putting in the minor amount of effort to show that you're not a bot, and anyone can click on your channel and see if there's anything there. And you didn't just A, violate a policy, and B, make yourself look really dodgy.
I think what LBRY needs to do, though, is, I've said this to them so many times, they need to make it clearer what the rules are for monetization.
Yeah.
Because most people don't know about the VPN thing.
Yeah, that's true.
If anyone doesn't know, running LBRY through a VPN, you're basically just asking yourself to get kicked out of the monetization system, because it's very easy to, I guess, what even is the reason?
It's too easy to be the same person pretending to be separate
There we
people
go.
if you have a VPN, if you're using a VPN.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem. People would make 100 accounts and get view rewards 100 times. Which is
I knew the
obviously
answer. I just forgot what it was for a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't make it clear when you sign up for LBRY. Like maybe it's probably in their terms of service, but I hate when websites do this. Like we're just gonna bury some very important rules in just this big document no one actually reads.
Plus, VPN users would probably be overrepresented.
Mm-hmm.
Like for the same reason that you're getting more BAT than my stats channel was, even corrected for views.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably getting a lot of VPN users, especially once LBRY decided to purge the Google Analytics and stuff, and make a sort of super privacy version possible.
Do you ever actually go on the? I don't recommend it. Do you ever go on the LBRY Reddit?
I have never gotten myself to Reddit, and I don't plan to.
Good.
But I've been there a couple of times. I know Jeremy Kaufman likes Reddit, so I've been there a few times, but I don't spend a lot of time there.
The
I don't
LBRY
check
Reddit
it.
it's a mess.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it a complaints department?
No, it's usually people asking just really stupid things.
I see.
Can I create a private video that only I can share? And I would be the only one hosting it, or would it be P2P encrypted?
If you want to do that, you should
Million
install...
LBC.
Yeah, you can do that if you trust your friend to send it back. But then you'd need 1 million from somewhere. The best way to do that is to... I would send the video to my friend on Keybase.
Yeah.
Because then it's end-to-end encrypted and then they can download it.
Like, most of them are fine, but occasionally you will definitely see the big complaint stuff. Like, there was someone the other day saying, did you know that LBRY is full of conspiracy theorists and white identitarians? Like, okay.
I've seen a fair few conspiracy theorists, and I think I've seen, like, a couple of white identitarians, but there's lots of other stuff.
Also, yeah, Alex Jones is on the channel. We're well aware that Alex Jones is on LBRY. Like, no one cares.
Yeah. With Alex Jones, I like Jeremy's approach. I think it's quite funny. I think only a certain kind of person would say that. But he said something like, does he think he's particularly great? No. But, like, the average of what people think of him is like so low that he's like, come on, it's better than that. So he's like, I'm gonna sort of like him because the average of what everyone else thinks is like too low.
I think he's fun.
I mean, and those are all the people that get kicked off. Like if you watch it, if you watch it with the, I occasionally watch those, and I'm like, the other day I watched one, and for the first 10 minutes I was like, this is making more sense than I expected. And then it got into like liquefying your DNA and stuff. And I was like, but then you just switch, okay, I'm watching a performance.
Let me tell you about vampire pedophiles.
Oh dear.
Like, that's what happens when you watch Alex Jones. It'll be like something fairly reasonable, and then it's just
and then all of a sudden out of nowhere. And then there'll be like an ad for turmeric.
Yes.
And I'm like, is turmeric actually healthy? I don't know.
And turmeric is good for you. That's actually like an actual thing that doctors will tell you.
Oh, interesting. But you probably don't need giant supplement cans of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if you need as much as he sells, but everything that Alex sells, there's a kernel of truth to it. Whether it's as true as he says, yeah.
And that's true of everybody's content, including both conspiracy theorists and mainstream content. It's like, and everything in between. You're never going to find a person who is correct on everything and is the paragon of honesty. It's just not happening. Like, there'll be facts, if you watch a conspiracy video, there'll be facts that are true that you just would never have heard from someone else, and there'll be total crap. And if you watch more mainstream sources, there'll be facts that are true and there'll often be a slant that, you know, they're implying the way you're supposed to feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't like that.
You'll even notice that even on very innocuous things, like I did a video on flat packs and snaps the other day, and
I don't understand why Linux people fight about different
I
things
don't
like that. It's like, who
understand.
cares? But go on.
This is the one thing where I take like the enlightened centrist approach,
Yeah.
and I will just be like, I will tell you exactly what these things do,
Yeah.
what my opinion on them are.
Yeah.
Do what you want. I don't care.
Yeah, and someone can like one or like the other and whatever.
Like I did a video on System D the other day, or
Why does
a few
everyone
weeks
hate
back.
Is that the thing where I type sudo systemctl start a daemon?
Yes,
that's good.
The thing
Why
that
do people hate it?
I know, the only people who have a problem with it are the people who needs to go outside more. Just get some sunlight and you'll stop caring about System D.
Is it a thing that's like too convenient?
No, the problem is that it does too much for an init system or something.
Okay.
It should be broken down into more separate components.
Then it would be more Unixy.
Yes, then it would be more Unixy.
Okay.
Yeah, Unix philosophy is the one way you can ever do anything on Linux. If it's not the Unix philosophy, it is wrong.
No, it's trade-offs. That's the thing that I started believing several years ago. It's like there's always trade-offs.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one thing that's better than another thing in absolutely every single way. Well, you know, you could come up with things that are pretty close, but it's rare.
Are you saying to have nuance?
Yes. But also not to be like proud about it. Like,
mm-hmm.
I'm an enlightened centrist. I have nuance. I have nuance and you don't. Not like that.
Let's see if we can find an enlightened centrist picture. What's Google going to show me?
Don't know.
Let's see.
Speaking of search engines, library search engine is not very good.
Oh, I wanted to talk about that. So
I've complained about it, and I keep getting the response like, "This is way harder than you think it is. It's not something we could easily fix. And if we solve this weird example you gave us, we'll just introduce more weird examples somewhere else." And I have some sympathy with that because it does seem complicated. But at a certain point, I'm like, you could probably make a better library search engine by writing a script that goes to google.com and restricts its search to LBRY.tv domain. That's a really good meme. Both sides are idiots, yeah, or you know, both sides have a kernel of truth or something. And I'm like, yeah, but yeah.
I have okay.
It is lazy.
Here's okay. I went on to my I'm gonna show you guys right now. This is how bad it is. Okay, so LBRY, it has an official channel, okay?
Yeah.
When you search for LBRY on LBRY, you don't get the LBRY channel. You get LBRY en Español, and LBRY Most Funny, and LBRY Earning, and the official LBRY channel does not exist anywhere on this list.
Oh, that's ridiculous. I've never seen that before.
Maybe if you scroll down forever,
home of the LBRY Twitter gang. Instagram sucks, LBRYgram rocks. That's another thing I like about LBRY. It's like people say, oh, it's YouTube alternative, but it's also, in principle, it's the back end of a new Instagram and a new, pretty much a lot of things. New Spotify. That's hilarious. I haven't seen that before.
Oh, let's
so that's a really good one.
Or I can go over to my my podcast channel, and I had a guest called Super Cosman, right? Yep. If you search for Super Cosman
in your channel,
on my podcast channel, you'll find him.
Take over there, yeah. Yep.
But if you search for Super Cos, you have no results.
I think it's just not pulling apart that long word that it doesn't recognize into its parts.
That must be it. But most people would expect that search to work just fine.
Yeah. That one I'm less baffled by.
What?
But
I'm happy.
Yeah, it would be nice to have it better.
Yeah. I know that back when I joined, if you search for my channel name, you wouldn't find my channel. So it is better than it was.
Yeah.
But its problem still exists in certain places.
Yeah. There was a video that I used to search for to test and it was a video with a long title with lots of unique words that wouldn't appear on very many other things in the title. And it was definitely there, but if you searched for that exact title, it wouldn't come up.
Like, yeah, it's probably more complex than we're making it, but
yeah,
it needs some work. It's not even like it needs some work in places where it's like data collection. It needs some work in just basic regexes.
Yeah, and just, what counts as a match. Because right now there's a problem that I'm trying to draw to their attention. I'm being a nag about it. But it seems that if you nag about something for several months, they'll fix it.
A good way to also do it is call them out on Twitter. They seem to respond fairly good to that. After you have like Julie and Tom telling you not to say this on Twitter.
Yeah. I've been complaining about a thing that happens now, and you can see it if you go to, I have a video called how to subdue, no, that's not the word. How to something, I just boosted it this morning. How to placate. How to placate an angry swan.
Can you send me a link to that one?
It's library:/angry-swan.
:/angry-swan.
Now, in the right-hand sidebar, you see related. Do you see a whole bunch of content from a channel called An Epic Voyage?
Yes, I do. Can I show it on my
That's
screen?
because the channel An-Epic-Voyage is clearly related to my Angry Swan video because it has the word "an" in it.
Oh.
And so you'll also notice some things that come up with the same issue. There's a channel called The Moon with a dash between the words. And if there's a "the" in the title of what you're watching, chances are The Moon has lots of related content for you.
So they're not they're not ignoring what I'm not a linguist. What are those words called?
Prepositions? No. Articles.
Yeah.
An is an article. The is a something. My wife did a linguistics degree, but she's not home.
Yeah. Whatever those words are called, they're not ignoring them.
Yeah. And they said, I brought this up and Beam of this search and chain query and some other random task task from Austin Powers. He said that if you do take them out, counterintuitively it makes search results worse. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I didn't expect that. But clearly there's still a problem.
Yeah, it doesn't change the fact there's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe the solution isn't just, take out those words, but there still needs to be a solution there because that is kind of embarrassing. And so it shows that if you want to get lots of views, you should make a channel with common words in its name, separated by dashes.
The and
you'll get yeah. Okay. The and Bitcoin something, and Bitcoin COVID-19. What else is?
It's kind of good this channel isn't as popular as it could be. I think it's like 83rd place on LBRY now, because otherwise that's going to happen very soon.
Yeah, you will get that. Like the COVID-19 and Bitcoin conspiracy LBRY sex channel.
I don't think there might have
sex might filter it out of mature. So you probably don't want to have that one. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Here's one where my suggestions are a little bit weird. So this is on a video I did on Font Preview, which is a tool to test out your fonts. And if you scroll down,
so what I would want is other things to do with fonts.
Yes.
And maybe test and some false positives on preview.
You definitely do get test.
I can tolerate.
You get test you want.
And you create your reality. That's because, do you have the word "you" somewhere? You have your. You create your reality, so that's clearly related because you're testing out your fonts, and also the moon because clearly the terminal is the same.
I didn't even notice the moon there.
It's the moon. I bet. I wonder if the moon is in the top 2,000 on LBRYnomics because I could go produce a graph of its.
But I was talking about
views.
There's ones in here from a channel called Test. Praha COVID Measures Protest.
Oh yes, that's very funny. Chest. Yep.
Is there a
I also
single?
think the rarity of the word should count. Like font is not the most common word, so that should be more important than the word test or the.
Hmm. Well, yeah, definitely more than test or the. That.
I don't know how you manage bathroom breaks because I know these episodes are quite long, but I would like to take one at this time.
Oh yeah, I don't know how long you want to record for.
Okay, we could probably go for like 10, 15 more minutes. If there's anything else on your list, we can
I didn't
go
even
through
hit
that too.
most of the things on the list, really.
Okay.
But hmm. Actually, one thing I did want to mention is, have you? Oh, you did see the thing in the Discord about Library Boost, didn't you?
Yeah.
Because I got an email from them months ago, and I didn't respond to them because I thought it sounded real sketchy.
I haven't looked into them. They have been promoting some of their own stuff in trending,
Do you know
but I
what?
don't know whether it's good and I don't know who it is.
Yeah. No, I don't want the boosted library. I don't want the C++ library.
Ha.
Do you know what their website was?
I think their library channel was
Oh,
library-boost, but I'm not sure.
what their library channel works?
I'm just gonna run to the bathroom. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. I'll just get stuff set up.
Okay.
So basically, this is like an analytics thing for library, but the problem that I saw is that or what I saw in the Discord at least, they seem to be charging people for this.
Yeah, they do. They are asking for payment. I did get the vibe. I think I was just reading a description of them, of one of their things. I think they have some stuff where they track analytics of like hits on your thumbnails.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, well, if you are serving the thumbnails from your own server, then you can log and see how many hits and stuff like that. So they might be doing some analytics stuff that we're not doing and that LibraryLytics isn't doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't vouch for them. I have no idea who they are, and I've never seen any of their content really.
Yeah, all I know about them is I got a email from them a few months back. I think I've deleted the email now. They were
I
like,
got
"Hey, do you
that
want?"
too,
They were
and
like,
spamming's not on.
"Well, for me, they wanted to do like a partnership or something, and
Okay.
have me like advertise them." Like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah, if you want to do things like that, it's best to at least, make sure the person has some clue who you are,
Mm,
especially if they are a person who's receiving a lot of email in general.
yeah, but they could be perfectly legit. I don't
Yeah,
want to say anything negative about them. But if you get an email from these guys, I don't know who they are.
yeah,
I'm fairly on the ball with knowing what's going on in the world of library. But
yeah, and they don't seem to be people who are active in the community.
mm,
They could be, but they're not talking about it there,
yeah,
and
for
you think
sure.
they would.
Yeah, generally that's what happens. Like even every project that I've supported for library, like they've been active members of the community, even if they're not active all the time. You at least like see their face. You at least be able to recognize a name on Discord or something. But with
Yeah,
these guys, I couldn't even remotely tell you who's running this.
yeah, same. But I haven't spent a lot of time trying to find out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about that one. Let's see, what else do we have? I think most of what we've actually we'll talk a bit about these graphs on LBRYnomics. I don't know how we didn't get to that earlier.
Okay, sure. Graphs or charts?
Which
Electron came up with that distinction.
which one's which?
Because charts is the
Uh
interactive one,
uh
and graphs are just SVGs.
mm. Yeah, okay. No, we'll look at the graphs for just a bit.
Okay.
What do we have here?
By the way, on LBRYnomics, I would recommend you just refresh your browser a lot
Mm-hmm.
because it seems to be very hard to tell a server not to cache things.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some things, like those graphs are made fresh every 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And so theoretically, you should be able to open one up and like see it changing ever so slightly, or at least when you refresh the page.
Yeah.
But due to various caching in various places, it can be not like that. So yeah, it would be nice to guarantee that they were always exactly up to date, but we haven't managed to get there yet.
Yeah, that's fair. Wow, there's over 500,000 publications on LBRY now.
That's 5 million.
There's 5 million. Sorry,
Yep.
There's an extra digit in there apparently.
Yep.
That is insane.
So yeah, some of it will be thumbnails. Because when people say upload my thumbnail to speech or LBRY.tv, that is another claim. So that's, but I think that's actually, not a huge amount of them are thumbnails, because a lot of the content comes in from YouTube Sync, and YouTube Sync is just reusing the YouTube thumbnails.
Yeah.
Which means that one day they might all go down.
Yeah. Well, I do my podcast thumbnails on Imgur now, so maybe one day those will go down as well.
Well, you never know, and LBRY stuff's not guaranteed to be up forever either. But that's the internet. You're always relying on some services somewhere that could, in principle, go down.
So if anyone has any problem with something on these graphs, this is the guy to bother, because he's the one responsible for making them.
Yeah, and they looked ugly. I've gradually gotten them a bit nicer looking.
They do look nicer now, yeah.
That's good. I used to just make these for my own personal use and then put them on my LBRY channel, but then Electron decided to make a page out of them, and we've just been going since then. So the way these are produced is that I am running a wallet server, which we discussed before, and I'm just running certain queries on them every 5 minutes, and then recording the results in a new database, which is my own, now that I know how to use databases. And then I just run some plotting code, and it's using NumPy and Matplot, exporting it to SVG.
So I just noticed a bit of a weird spike in median channel follows. The other graph, what's it called?
Median
average follows of our top 200, and there's a spike that happens in here for some reason, like right after, not too long ago actually.
A spike. So median followers of top 200 channels, and the number at the top is saying 7,738 for me.
Yeah, if you look towards the right hand side, there's this sudden spike in growth that I'm not sure what would account for that.
Do you mean the sort of upward curve after Odyssey? Because that's Odyssey.
Well, no, Odyssey. Obviously Odyssey happens, but after Odyssey, right towards the right hand side, it seems to have sped up for some reason.
Yeah, it does look to be accelerating. I don't know why, but it's nice.
It is nice, yeah.
It is quite a noisy thing if you just look day to day at this, but the long term is looking good. And the y-axis, these are still very low numbers.
Yeah.
It's like, how many followers do the top 200 YouTube channels have?
I would have to estimate it's got to be over a couple million.
Yeah. So here we've got from the beginning to the end of the measurements, which is about 1 year's worth of time span for this one. We've got 7x growth, and we're still several orders of magnitude below where YouTube probably.
Wait, yes, that is the start of the year. When I joined, the top, was it really that low when I joined?
When you joined on LBRY.social, we had the top 100. And you could make it into the top 100 with 95.
I didn't realize it'd grown that much.
Yeah, it's been a big year.
Because what?
And people don't realize how small it was.
I think I'm at 15,000 or something.
Yeah. And yeah, there's attrition. People join and then don't come. But it's a lot bigger than it used to be. It would be rare to see 100 views. And now there's some French COVID-19 guy who's just appeared 2 weeks ago and is getting bajillions of views on Odyssey.
Yeah, on a bad day I get 250 now.
Yeah, that's decent. It's not the old ones and zeros, 5. Yeah, I remember. I don't know if you know the Crazy Gamer 16 from the community.
I've spoken to him a few times.
Okay, he's an Australian guy. He has autism, and he makes some videos that are sometimes entertaining and sometimes ridiculous. But he was in the top 100.
Mm-hmm.
And just there was a guy from Melbourne, I think, who would make commentary about video games,
Mm-hmm.
and he was in the top 100 as well. And it was just some random guy who on YouTube probably has 100 subscribers. No one big.
Joining LBRY early was such a good idea.
Yeah.
What is top 100
Like,
right now? Chris Titus is at number 100. Suck it. Suck it, Chris. 7,761. That is 100.
that's what it takes to get in 100. And like, why the heck do I have 12,000? Like, that's not supposed to happen. You can tell it's not super big yet, because when it's super big, I shouldn't be.
Well, yeah, you shouldn't have this many Linux channels in the top 100. Like, that's not a thing that happens.
Yeah. Well, at around the time you joined, it was before COVID-19. Now it's basically like the COVID-19 platform. If you go to experiments on LBRYnomics, you could see the top viewed stuff, and it's like some cure for COVID-19, and COVID-19's a scam, and all of this. And I'm like, whatever you think of that, it's like, it would be nice to have a variety of subjects.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most viewed stuff. And when you arrived, it was the Linux and Flat Earth content platform.
Crypto as well was obviously
crypto
here.
And like randomly Veritasium. That's my claim to fame in LBRY, apart from the code and stuff, has been Veritasium, and I did our PhDs at the same time in the same building. We weren't friends, but we knew each other. And so I asked him to sync his channel, and he did.
That's cool.
He basically was very easy to convince. I didn't have to do anything. I just said, I'm into this, and you can sync your YouTube channel. Would you mind doing it? And so I keep saying that whenever he's in Auckland, I owe him very many. But it hasn't happened yet.
I can't believe the platform's grown this much.
Yeah, it's quite crazy. Do you want an explanation for that graph? There's one that's a bit mysterious that no one understands.
Sure.
LBC spread.
Yes, we'll do that.
That one was mostly for my own interest. So this is sort of a measure of, I guess, wealth inequality.
LBC spread. Where is it?
I think it's the last one, because it's the newest. It's only been going for like a month.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And I did this because I'm a stats nerd, and there's a thing in information theory which is related to probability theory. There's a thing called Shannon entropy. And I won't go into it, but basically this measures how spread out all the staked LBC is among their content. So the current value is 3,084, and that is the value that this graph would also have if there was 0 LBC on anything, but there was 3,084 claims or publishers, and they all had the same amount of LBC on them. So it's kind of like, if this number goes up, then the LBC is less concentrated on a few different things. And if this number goes down, it's more concentrated.
Okay.
So if MH owns the world and then puts all his LBC on one thing, this will go down. If he decides to spread it around 1,000 things, this number will.
Okay.
And I just was curious about the number and how it was changing, and it looks like it changes kind of randomly, but there's some big and small spikes. I don't know what that is. Could be like,
yeah, that could be
anything.
It could be associated with some. Yeah, what is this? I don't know what would have happened there. There's obviously some big event that happened. Maybe there's some viral video on LBRY that I just didn't know about.
Yeah, maybe one thing suddenly got heaps of views. That can happen, and you wouldn't know because trending doesn't show what's trending.
Well,
Despite my best efforts.
the channels with the biggest views, all of them basically get their views externally. Like the ones that have like 10,000 views in their videos.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
They'll have
So
like
the French guy is in that category. There's some doctor who has some very non-stream beliefs about COVID-19, and he has heaps of views. I think he uses embeds.
I know David Icke's in the same boat as well, and Alex Jones as well. Actually, Alex Jones doesn't. David Icke, I'm pretty sure, does.
I don't know why Alex Jones's views aren't very high. I guess he doesn't. They want people to go to their banned video.
Yeah, he has his own server, or I guess his team runs their own server, which that's fair. I can see why he'd want to do that.
Yeah, but it's there's been an issue with LBRY over the years of people joining, being excited, sticking with it for a month, and then giving up and going away.
Yeah,
and it's actually quite a good sign that someone with a big name is using it manually, so it's not a passive YouTube sync. And they're still here after a while. I think that's a promising sign.
In Alex's case, he's got like people to do that, so
it's the people doing it. Yeah, it's not, and probably it's the people for anyone who's sort of a household name.
Yeah. There are creators I want to see joining the platform, but I've noticed that we're moving. This is what I've said before. When you want to bring creators on the platform, you sort of have to do it in layers. So first you had the crypto, because the crypto people go anywhere that's a crypto platform. Then you expand out into Linuxy stuff, and then more general tech. And I've noticed that people like Epos Vox are here, who is a fairly... I don't know if you know who Epos Vox is.
I've seen the handle, but I don't know.
He's a fairly like mainstreamy Twitch streamer guy.
Okay, like gaming, video games,
And people like that are starting to join now. So once you have those, and I've noticed like just fairly big Minecraft channels joining as well, which is really weird to see, especially from when I joined. So we're actually expanding out into those bigger communities, and there's going to come a point where there is a massive explosion. Once we hit, I think the point where that happens is once people like Memulous and things like that, the people who do just the Reddit commentary videos, because those videos get millions and millions of views, and once that happens, I think there will be an explosion, and I really hope LBRY is ready for it, because it's going to hit the servers very hard.
Yeah, or it might be like when the Flat Earth people came and everything crashed.
It's going to be like that, but 100 times worse.
And this is an interesting point that I learned from Julian, which I previously didn't know. Most YouTube views are done through the mobile app.
Yes, they are.
It's not done from someone sitting at a computer using their web browser. And so, I believe they're partway through basically the Odyssey branded and structured app, because obviously it's going to be very similar to the LBRY Android, but with the Odyssey colors and logos and categories and things. That I'm not sure when it will come out, but I don't imagine it would be too long, because that doesn't seem like an insane amount of work. Although what do I know? The guy who does the Android app, I think he lives in Africa or something. But he's one of these people that as a developer seems very impressive to me, like Lex Berezhny, Ukraine. He just decided, I'm going to rewrite the whole server code so that it's using Postgres instead of SQLite, and it's going to be awesome. And he seemed to do most of that in like 2 weeks. And also but I tell this to my research students too. It's when you're getting near the end of your project, you should be at the point where you could delete your entire project and redo it again in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because you know it now. At the beginning, you didn't know it. You were muddling. And most of the time you're muddling. And then at the end, you get what you... And so if you've written something once the slow way, you probably can rewrite it from scratch better. So the Android guy, what was it, 6 months ago, he was like, the Android app is too slow, which is something I'd been complaining about for years. It was horrible, unusable.
Mhm.
I'm going to like get rid of whatever libraries were being used and rewrite it using, I think it's just Java code
Yeah,
on
it went
Android,
from being a
like native
React
thing.
app to being a native Android app.
Yeah, yeah, and he did that in like, I don't know, it seemed like 2 weeks. Probably wasn't,
Mhm.
but when I went to install the new version, I was, this is going to be pre-alpha again, but it actually wasn't. There were a few glitches. It
Mhm.
was new, but it was good, and I actually use the phone app now. But I think Odyssey branded Android app and iOS could
iOS
be a
is a
big
big
deal.
one.
They've actually started. That's news.
That's
It has been
news.
started. Yeah, for the longest time it was like iOS next year, and then every year it would just be iOS
Yeah,
next
it's
year.
just always on the the goals for this year.
Yeah, but I think it's actually been started.
Oh, have you actually read? I know you probably read through the goals at the start of the year, but have you read through them again? Because they actually hit most of them.
Oh, that's really cool. No, I haven't.
There's a couple of things that are still,
Yeah, like data network.
yeah, data networking stuff. I
I
think
mean,
there's,
data payments.
yeah,
That's the thing.
whatever.
Yeah,
Um, I think there's some stuff in there about advertising, maybe, which isn't there yet.
yeah. I think they wanted to get in the thing where people can post stuff, and then either the viewer can either pay a small amount of LBC or watch an ad.
Yes.
Um, but I don't know about that anymore.
I've hear that's still the plan, but
Okay,
I don't 100% know. Let's see if we can find the link to it. What's it called? Library. What do they call it?
roadmap. I think
Roadmap. Yeah. I'm excited to see what the 2021 roadmap is.
that'll be fun. Yeah.
So we have creator analytics and reporting. That came out early on and got basically no work done on it.
Yeah, it's pretty basic.
Decentralized organization. We can argue whether it's decentralized. I did that plenty with Electron.
Let's just say that the Library Foundation exists and then move on.
Yeah, it exists, but it shouldn't. Library First Publishing. That's still in. Yes.
I don't know if I know that there are people who publish first and
I know
publish
the Linux
manually.
gamer he does,
Mhm.
but their tool
Rob
is
Raxman does as well.
their tool is still in alpha, and you still have to contact them directly to set it up.
Okay.
I'm very happy to let that happen. Because I'll let them alpha test it, and when it works, I'll use it.
Okay.
Wallets and passwords.
Yeah, passwords work now. I have a. Yep.
Users are provided with a clear indication of wallet custody. Yeah.
That's
I
pretty
did.
good. It's
I
better
did
than it
notice
used to
one
be.
problem. I don't have my wallet synced with Library TV, and for some reason it's synced. That's one thing that I'm confused about.
That has happened to me.
I think it's because I synced it in the past.
Get in touch with Tom, and he can delete their copy of your wallet, which is highly reassuring.
Lovely. Okay.
Just do it. It'll be fine. That's happened to me.
It's not a big deal, but yeah, I should do that.
I think they, on their servers or whatever, where they keep all the custodial wallets, they use something, I've heard it called Salt. I don't know much about it, but it's something where if a hacker was to get in, it's like so mangled that they wouldn't know what's what or something.
Yeah. We have commenting. Commenting's gotten really good recently.
The Odyssey comments are awesome.
One problem with it. It breaks after 2 deep. It literally.
Oh, really?
You cannot reply to comments after 2 deep. The reply button is gone.
I thought it was like you could go 10 layers or something.
Nope.
Which is more than you'd ever need.
You might be able to, but it doesn't work.
I see.
I've got a video here that people got pissed off with. Where I'll show. This one? No, it was the other one. This one. So if we scroll down a little bit.
It's one of those Linux fights. By the way, I'm a Nano guy. I could never be bothered to learn Emacs or Vim.
Scroll down to the... Yeah, that's fine. Scroll down to the one...
Nano's fine.
Grey Demu or whatever his name is.
Yeah, I see it.
And if you go down the tree, you can't reply to the ones further in the tree.
Oh yeah, I think you have to like go up the top and reply or something. Yeah.
I don't really care if it doesn't go down more layers, but I don't know why the reply button's gone.
Yeah. Interesting.
So I need to let them know about that one in case they think it works and don't actually know.
And that's related to Modi lovers versus logic lovers, facts versus facts. And that's because you've got verses in the title.
Yes. Trigglypuff versus Christina Hoff Summers. Oh, I miss Trigglypuff. That was fun.
Oh, it's like 2016 again with that headline.
Yeah, commenting's gotten way better. I would have said it wasn't good, but they fixed it. When we had commenting and we couldn't do comment trees, it's like, really.
They like to release stuff when it's like pre-alpha.
Yes,
definitely. At least when they did that, there was a disclaimer. It's like comments are in alpha. I was like, okay, good.
LBC exchanging. So this is regardless of whether someone is looking to buy or sell LBC, they face a user experience, blah, 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 blah. The ability to acquire LBC for users as well as creators and convert LBC when desired. You can buy it.
They have the MoonPay thing for people outside of the USA.
You can't sell it, though.
The rest is harder still. Yeah, yes. The rest is still hard.
I can use MoonPay, but yeah, US not a thing because of US weird US laws.
Yep.
The next one, iOS.
There's still 2 months left. They could get it.
They could, yeah. A library browser exists for iOS that is at a minimum is roughly on par with our library on Android experience. No, that's not happened.
Yeah.
So that one failed. Probably. I can't imagine much work can get done over December.
Who knows? I don't know.
I don't know.
It could already be 3/4 done for.
This one, we haven't heard anything about it. Alternative monetization. So paid content, that's done. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, they were going to have like Patreon type things.
Yeah, and advertisements as well, and things like that. And recurring subscriptions, content releasable via assurance contract, Kickstarter style, paid memberships. That's not there yet.
I don't know if anything's happened in that, but maybe it has. I don't know. That seems quite complex.
It does. I'm happy. Paid content most people aren't using, but it's good for the people who do need to use that.
Yeah, in the long run, like when the view tips run out, that stuff has got to be there.
Yeah, advertising 100%. That's my problem with PeerTube.
And I think for me, like with more like, science PDFs or whatever, I think it'll be just this costs 20 LBC.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Stronger data network. So ensure all data is well hosted without participation.
It's very well hosted at the moment, but most of it is with their participation.
Yes.
So because of Odyssey, they now have like not just one server with a copy of everything. They have lots of servers. But all our little desktop users are still seeding, I hope.
Here's one. Utilize disk space provided by users proactively. Offer rewards and benefits for this.
The first sentence, that actually is something I volunteered to do and haven't made progress. But I know how to do it. It's just a matter of the time, finding the time. And the second thing, I have no idea about.
I know that Tuxfu did a video on how to actually set up a library seed box.
Oh, nice. Which
is useful. I need to go watch that. Test and rework and re-enable code for market-based data payments. I don't know what that means.
That's the whole getting paid to seed thing.
Yes. Host-only setup process is user-friendly to do at scale. I don't
think that's true.
And form partnerships with data providers in other countries.
Does that mean that they're renting a server in Australia? Does that count?
I don't think so. I think it means maybe like ISP partnerships or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
I think like how YouTube does it with caching and stuff.
I see. Yeah.
The next one's here we go. The Q4 stuff is basically stuff to work on. No, this specific one. It's cheater performance. Basically, make library less slow.
They have done a reasonable job at that.
Very much so.
There's lots of little changes, I think, that...
I think it doesn't feel fast, but if you know what it was like at the start of the year, it's definitely fast.
Yeah. The streaming speeds are quite good, as long as sometimes it's the clicking to start something and then waiting. That first thing is the slower part.
I think the one that really helped that was transcoding.
Yeah. Although you get still people
Yeah.
not doing it. Like, don't they see the warning?
The
yellow text? Like, your video is 10 minutes and it's 3 gigabytes. Do you really want to do this?
How does Odyssey uploading work? I presume that doesn't have transcoding at all.
No, I think it is probably the same as Library TV, and in which case it will warn you and link you to the FAQ.
Okay, that's cool. Creator-owned relationships. There's nothing being done on that. You can't even see the full email of the people who join you from your invite link.
Yeah.
Which is fair. Like, I don't think that should be shared by default, but there's no way to opt in to share that.
Yeah, that's true.
Improved content discovery. In some ways, yes. In other ways, no.
Right.
Yeah, most of this is just about improving trending and things like that.
Yeah, I thought I improved trending, but for some reason the version I like the best, which is more whale resistant, using Tom's idea of taking advantage of time, which is that if you're a whale and you want to get to the top of trending, and you were going to put your big support, you can do it, but it won't do anything to trending for like a day. So it just limits the amount of time you can recycle the same LBC.
That makes sense.
So instead of like moving your big chunk stack every 6 hours, you have to do it every 24 hours. And then for 3/4 of that time, you're not at the top.
Okay. Yeah, I do it once a day, so that wouldn't affect me.
Yeah, I'm not so botty either, but that's implemented and it works, but it's currently not running, I believe, even though I think it's better than the one that is running.
The one thing they did address, I don't know how they addressed it, maybe people just got bored, the problem of inaccurate tagging.
They started to demonetize people who were...
Yes. That makes sense.
Yep.
And that is going to be the last of the things. So most of it they did hit. Or made some improvements.
We talked about library a lot, not so much about other stuff.
No, we actually stayed on topic for once. That's a first.
I don't know if my T-shilling got into the video near the beginning.
No, that would have been in the pre-sound check, actually.
Harney and Sons. Really good, slightly expensive tea. I recommend the peppermint if you need to clear yourself. And I'm not affiliated with them in any way.
Empty cup of Twinings. Can we see? Can you see it? No, it's blurry because of focus. Lemon and ginger.
Nice. Is that a mouse or a cat on that mug?
I have literally no idea. This is my housemate. And
it reminds me of Mantega and his library rat.
The slight chip in it. That's the one I want to bring on the show. I think he'd be fun.
Oh yeah, he seems like a really fun guy. Good sense of humor.
I'll have to hit him up because I wanted to bring on Hex DSL next week, but he never responded to my email. So next week I'm bringing on Trav because he's been talking a lot about Good Dollar. I don't know if you use Twitter at all.
I don't use Twitter. I think Twitter is hell.
That's fair.
I used to use Twitter until I realized it was hell. But I've seen Trav talking about that. Something to do with donating crypto to charity or something?
It's a crypto UBI.
Interesting.
There's a couple of these projects that have popped up this year, because obviously there's a lot of people who don't have money, so there's people looking into ways to use staking coins as a way to generate a basic income.
Interesting.
I think it'd be fun to talk about it with.
Yeah. Yeah, I reckon Mantega would be up for it.
Mm-hmm.
I would look forward to that one.
Yeah,
I think I'll watch Trav's too.
Well, at this stage, it's definitely going to be next week. So
okay,
it'll be uploaded 2 weeks from now.
Okay, yeah. Well, I follow both your channels.
Cool.
And I seed most of your content too. I noticed that you don't.
Yeah, don't I?
Do you know how I know?
Hmm.
I have my logs open when I'm using library,
Mm-hmm.
and if I download Tech Over Tea and I was getting it from you,
Mm-hmm.
I would see some IP address in Adelaide with port 3333,
How
but
do I
I don't.
how do I do that then? What am I doing wrong?
Uh, is there, maybe we can do that offline,
Hmm.
because you don't want to reveal your IP address, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. But if your 3333 and 4444 are open,
Hmm.
should be seeding.
Okay, they might not be open then.
Okay. Yeah, most ISPs would close that
Hmm. That's
by
something I.
default.
That's another thing that library needs to do. Better document how to seed because most people probably assume they're seeding.
Yeah. I think about a year or two ago, someone was saying they were going to work on hole punching.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know what it is, but it's something. I think Skype uses it because Skype is sort of peer to peer, but you don't have to know about port forwarding.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something where you. So the problem is that you can't accept an incoming request,
Mm-hmm.
but you can make a client do an outgoing request and find, who's waiting for a connection
Mm-hmm.
through some intermediary or something, and then you initiate the connection that way.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd basically be able to seed from behind a firewall. But I don't know if they got very far.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I had just assumed this entire time that I was seeding.
Maybe, maybe not. It would be nice to have more, because now that Odyssey's out and they're saying that desktop is, the power user thing.
Mm-hmm.
It would be cool to have more like stuff that looks like a BitTorrent client,
Mm.
because they love the nerdy stuff in a BitTorrent client.
Well, this is something I've said. There needs to be like an advanced mode. Even on the desktop, there's things that you can hide, but on Odyssey
Yeah,
especially, they've removed too much of the crypto stuff.
interesting.
I would
I
like
do know. I do know that some of it will be coming back, but they're trying to work out the UX.
checkbox advanced settings.
Yeah, that's a good one. Um, yeah.
Just have it disabled by default. That's all you do.
Yeah, but you know how on Odyssey you can tip someone and you
Mm-hmm.
can support yourself, but you
Yes.
can't support someone.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that box that you hate with
The box
with
I
check mark.
really hate.
I think they are going to try and bring it back in a less stupid way.
Okay.
Yeah.
That box is so like. There's so many better ways you could do it besides that checkbox.
Well, it used to just be two buttons next to each other, tip or support,
Mm.
and that was good.
Well, even if you don't like the name support, call it boost. Call it
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
anything.
Boost is good. Yeah.
Because I've mentioned that one to Julie, and she's like, "Oh, I like that," and it just never went anywhere.
I had a conversation with him yesterday, and we were talking about this, and he said that he likes the name Boost, and that if and when it comes back to Odyssey, they might use the name Boost.
Good. Support was a
Yeah,
bad name from the start.
yeah,
Like with staking. Staking is such a crypto-y word that doesn't mean anything to a normal person.
exactly. Boost is good. I
Mm.
think Mines uses Boost. I was on Mines for like 1 week, and then I was like, "There's no one here."
Yeah,
Back to Facebook.
that's sort of how I feel. Well, we've basically hit almost 3 hours at this point.
Yeah, feel like that's a maximum.
So yeah, we'll do the sign off, I guess.
Yeah.
What I usually do at the end is I don't know if you've seen right to the end of a podcast. Usually, I'll get the guest to say a channel that they've been interested in lately, just to give someone a bit of
Oh,
spotlight.
interesting. Okay. Um, there's an Australian guy I like. I found on Library. He's Heiser Says.
Oh yes, Heiser
At
is great.
HESE says SAYS, and he comments on like Australian economic issues. He's sort of centre right ish,
Mm-hmm.
I would say. Um, sometimes he rants and raves. Other times it's a bit more dry, but I find it quite informative.
This is someone who would really hurt LBRYnomics. He has nearly 2,000 uploads.
Haha, yeah. Well, he's in the top 2,000 now, so
Yeah, I think his channel's at like, maybe 20,000 on YouTube. I've been watching him for a long time.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think I was on his channel page and you said welcome or something. Like, oh, you knew who he was. I just randomly stumbled across one and I was like, oh, Australian economics. I like that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a really good channel. He does a really great job at breaking down the news.
Yeah.
And he typically stays very, very on. Like lately, it's basically just been economics. There's obviously been a lot of COVID stuff because that's obviously having a major effect.
Yeah.
But yeah, typically a lot of
He's,
economics.
he seems a bit pessimistic to me. But, you know,
Yeah.
that's a legitimate point of view.
Yeah. Oh.
Sorry about my dog.
I'm going to mute you for just a moment so I can say what I wanted to say. Let's see. Who do I want to give a shout out to? This is a good question. Dog's calming down. There we go. Now you're back. Who do I want to give a shout out to? I'm going to find someone on YouTube and watching. Well, here's someone who has been people have been trying to get over to LBRY for a while now, and he's just refusing to do so. Gad sad.
Oh, yeah. Why doesn't he? I don't know.
Well, he was going like people kept talking to him about
he's
it.
A funny guy.
Yeah, he's definitely a funny guy. But after the Joe Rogan thing happened, he was like, "Oh, I'll join if you pay me." It's like
they do pay him.
No, like he wanted like a Joe Rogan style contract. Like no.
Oh, like millions of dollars or
maybe
whatever.
Not millions, but like a good chunk of money to join.
Yeah.
Like that's not going to happen.
Yeah. But it's his loss. No Lambos for you.
No Lambos, but he makes a good channel, so I recommend watching him. Yeah, that's cool. Really all I have to say about that.
Thanks for having me on.
No worries. Where actually, yeah. Shout out things you want to shout out. What are you working on? Where can people find you?
People can find me at BrendonBrewer.com. That's Brendon with an O, and Brewer like I make beer. And everything else is linked from there.
Mm-hmm.
So what am I working on? Well, I've got my day job. Yeah, well, LBRYnomics would be the one that your audience cares about.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have very much coming up for that from my side. But I'm looking forward to more trending algorithms.
Cool.
That's more general. And I guess I just have my day job, but most people probably aren't as interested in statistics. I have some cool algorithms that I plan to write up in papers.
Yeah, I'm sure people are going to love that.
Yeah. No, it'll be the academics that.
Cool. Yeah, this has actually been a lot of fun. We'll definitely have to do this again sometime because I think this went really smooth actually.
Thanks. I'd be happy to, and yeah, I'm sure we'll have enough to talk about for another 3 hours.
I didn't hit on most of the topics, and by the time we do this again, there's going to be something else.
There'll be other things.
The LBRY's going to do something that's going to annoy me.
Yeah, there's always some problem, and then later you forget about that it even existed. Like, remember when the front page was all these movie trailer channels? I don't know why, but suddenly, I think that's just when people realized they could get free tips by uploading movie trailers and getting them on the front page. That was like a craze for like a month.
There was a really big person in the community who ran one of those channels. I think you know who I'm talking about. Yeah, and it's just people were saying like, no, you can't do this, and it's like, nope, I'm gonna do it. Yeah,
and then if you look it up, it's like actually you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, no, I definitely err on the side of caution with material.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's fair use, but there are people who are like, you know, my plagiarism is clearly fair use.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case.
Yeah, that's definitely a topic that we can dig into for a while.
Yeah, with someone who's not me.
Okay, so I think we'll end it there then. Before we go, I'd like to thank my supporters. So a special thank you to Chris, Donald, Joachim, Corbinian, Andrew Craig, Nathan Montella, Chico Bento, Joseph, Peter D. Road, Tony, Brandon, Donald. Sorry, I said Donald's name twice. He upgraded his tier from $2 to $32. Donald, you're awesome. That's too much money. Anyway, John, Marek, Mikkel, Nate Dog, Nephite, Poe, Tease, and Zilver. If you want to go and support work, links down below to my Patreon, subscribe to LBRY, all that sort of stuff. This podcast is available as an audio release if you're watching it on YouTube and stuff like that. It's available anywhere you can listen to podcasts. And the video release, LBRY, YouTube. I think that's about it. Maybe, it's on Facebook as well if you want to watch it there for some reason. And my main channel is Brodie Robertson, available on LBRY, Odyssey, BitChute, and other places like that. So, yeah. This has been a very, very long podcast. I actually have other videos to record today. That's fun. So I'll do that. And thank you for joining me on this podcast. I had a lot of fun.
No worries. Same here. See you next time.
See you next time.